the season started.
All the pomp and circumstance.
And here we go.
Promise. Potential. Fresh air. Fresh start. It's finally here.
This has got a chance. It is gone.
It's not just the next pitch you gotta wait for. There's also the next season. But man, when it arrives, the possibilities are endless.
The look on his face says, I can hardly believe it.
Did he catch it? Oh, he did!
One of the most remarkable, improbable baseball games you will ever see.
It's been a while.
And the Giants have won the World Series.
But baseball is so worth the wait. Welcome to opening night on ESPN.
Welcome to Opening Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Burger King. We have ourselves a new team in the American League. It's the Houston Astros, who are at home tonight to their new divisional rivals, but a team that the folks here in Houston don't like very much already, the Texas Rangers. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 2013 season. Dan Schulman, Oral Hershiser, and welcoming John Kruk to the Sunday night booth this year. Should be a great season. So many storylines heading into the year. If you had to pick one that's really interesting you heading into the year, what is it?
It happened during the hot stoves. Not the East Coast making the splash, but the West Coast. All the money going out there to the West. What the Angels do with signing Josh Hamilton, adding him to Albert Pujols. Then you look at the Dodgers. Zach Greinke, a big sign, and the ripples still there from Gonzalez and Crawford and Beckett. Will money lead to production? Will production lead to wins? Will they get a championship on the West Coast with all that spending?
Crucky, what's number one on your list?
Well, I got to go back east and talk about the American League East and the parity that is at the division. Usually it's the two teams, Boston, New York. 2008, Tampa broke through. And now the Baltimore Orioles in 2012, they break through. The Toronto Blue Jays, though, made the biggest splash in the American League East with the big trade with the Miami Marlins. Can they break through in 2013 and add another team to the postseason?
For a little bit more on the two teams we're going to see here tonight, let's send it down to the field now and welcome in Buster Olney.
Dan, the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros are in major transitions. For the Rangers, who played in two of the last three World Series, no Josh Hamilton, no Michael Young, no Mike Napoli, so they're trying to fill in the offensive gaps with A.J. Brzezinski and Lance Berkman. And the Houston Astros, after 51 years in the National League, are playing their first game tonight in the American League, fielding a team with a payroll of $18.7 million. There are actually 23 individual players making more than the Astros' entire roster. They are the purest experiment with statistical use in baseball. No team has ever taken it this far, Dan.
Buster, thank you. It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds for the Astros over the next couple of years. This is a team, expectations are low, lost over 100 games each of the last 2 years. Here is their opening day starter, but the highest paid player on the whole team at $3 million. Total payroll is about $20 million. Bud Norris, who was terrific at home last year.
Yeah, look at those home numbers, 4-1 at home, 3-12 on the road. The ERA, huge differential. Talking to Bud yesterday, the biggest difference for him was the concentration and focus, avoiding the left field wall here in Houston. And on the road, some of those little nagging injuries would creep up, and he thought that's what made his ERA get so high.
For the Texas Rangers, who have made the postseason each of the last 3 years, Ron Washington is excited about the team that he's going to put on the field in 2013. There have been some notable changes, but Wash likes what he's got and feels good about the Rangers' prospects heading into the season. As you know, Josh Hamilton, Michael Young, Mike Napoli now playing elsewhere. So who have they brought in To help supply some offense, well, one of the guys is somebody very familiar to Houston fans. Lance Berkman, who played so many years here as an Astro and is one of the best switch hitters in baseball history. If the knee is healthy, you know he can still swing the bat. And a holdover in Adrian Beltre, one of the very best third basemen offensively and defensively in Major League Baseball. Another new name down there with the 7th spot, A.J. Pierzynski, so many years with the White Sox. But he is new to the Rangers as well, coming off a season with a career high 27 home runs. Defensively for the Houston Astros, Matt Dominguez at third. Ronnie Cedeno just picked up last week as at short. Jose Altuve, their all-star last year, at second. Brett Wallace at first, and Jason Castro is behind the plate. Left to right in the outfield, Chris Carter, Justin Maxwell, and Brandon Barnes. A big crowd, an enthusiastic crowd too, which took a lot of pleasure in booing every Texas Ranger name that they could hear before the game during the introductions. And now, of course, instead of just playing in interleague play, these two teams are now in the same division and will meet many times over the course of the regular season. Ian Kinsler will step in. It is time for baseball here in 2013. Bud Norris will throw the first pitch of the year. And a first pitch strike. That ball taken out of play. Kinsler hit .256 last year. 19 homers, 21 steals, although both of those numbers were down from the 2011 season. In the air, right field. Barnes tracking back, shy of the track, one down.
Ian Kinsler over the last 2 seasons has homered on opening day. He'll have a few more at bats today to triplicate that.
Triplicate that?
I don't know. It's early in the 2013
Triplicate
season.
that. Wow. Here's Elvis Andrus, the shortstop.
He's throwing that out in the first inning already.
It's going to be a long year, eh, Crucky?
Triplicate.
We're in way over our heads.
I didn't know I had to be smart to do this.
Andrus hit .286 last year. 5th year in the big league, still just 24 years of age. And the fastball rides up and in from Norris for ball one. They are in on the corners. Andrus is known to drop a bunt down. He'll hit a lot of choppers, get a lot of infield hits, so the Astros playing accordingly. And there's the slider, and Andrus couldn't check the swing. And Oral, that's the go-to pitch for Bud Norris.
Yeah, he's really a two-pitch pitcher on the mound with the fastball, a four-seamer. He likes to try and keep it down and then ride it up. And then his slider, and the key to his success is when he can throw it for a strike and then also throw it for a ball like that last one.
Has been tougher on righties than lefties in his career, as you would imagine with that slider. And he's got that outside corner with the knees measured pretty early as well.
It must be a tight slider too, because a 1-0 count, when you're a hitter, 1-0, you're not looking for any breaking ball, and you can tell Andrus was fooled with a check swing.
Let's see if he goes back to it now out in front, 1-2. He does, but he bounces it in. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
We'll see many variations of that slider to right-handed hitters tonight from Bud Norris, because he'll grip it the same way, but he'll decide to try and get to the front of the ball to break it big, or to the back of the ball to make it more like a cutter.
Swing and a miss, 2 down. Kind of a mixed reaction for Lance Berkman. Well, maybe mixed is a little bit generous. Spent 11 years here with the Houston Astros. Went to St. Louis, now with the Texas Rangers. He will DH predominantly. Holds many Houston offensive records. Has the highest slugging percentage for any Astro ever. And boy, they had some good years here with Berkman, Bagwell, Biggio for a long, long time.
Yeah, I never understood that when a guy leaves, it wasn't his choice to leave, was it? I mean, they were going through a rebuilding phase, and he wasn't part of it, so they had to get rid of him.
Had knee surgery last year. That's why, as you can see, he only played in 32 games for the Cardinals. But I don't think anybody doubts, Crucky, if he's healthy, he can still swing the bat.
He can definitely swing the bat, and the great thing about him is he's a manager's nightmare, opposing manager's nightmare, because he's a switch hitter, and he has power from both sides.
High with a fastball, 2-1.
And I really think that Lance Berkman is also very tough to defend, because if you overshift like the Astros are right here a little bit, he's very good at controlling the bat and working the pitcher to a place where he can get it to an open hole.
Ground ball to short. And it's a 3-up, 3-down inning for Bud Norris here from the top of the first. Rangers go quickly. Astros coming up when we come back. Baseball on ESPN, presented by Burger King, where taste is king. Dan Schulman, John Kruk, Oral Hershiser, Buster Olney at Minute Maid Park in Houston. The Astros and the Rangers as we open up the 2013 Major League Baseball season here on Sunday Night Baseball. And the first Major League game as a manager for Bo Porter at 40 years of age, the youngest manager in the baseball. Plenty more on Porter over the course of the evening. Let's take a look at the lineup. The Astros will roll out there tonight, and they hit the ball hard in the spring. 46 home runs in 31 games. It's an optimistic bunch heading into the season. Jose Altuve hit 290, stole 33 bases, was an all-star last year. He will be the leadoff hitter, but the guy they're expecting some big things from this year is Chris Carter, who came over in a trade from Oakland, and he's got some power. It's 16 home runs in just 218 at-bats last year. First pitch swinging and a base hit into left field for Altuve. So Matt Harrison throws one pitch, his first pitch of the season, Oral, and it winds up a base hit.
Well, it was on the ground, and he's been an outstanding pitcher, an all-star last year, and he gets a lot of ground balls. He's going to keep the ball down. He's got a heavy two-seamer. He pitches the contact. He can strike some people out, but he's not a big strikeout guy, and he keeps the ball in the ballpark. You see those 22 home runs and 213 innings pitched.
Altuve a threat. Brett Wallace first pitch swinging, and he fouls one off right side.
How important is it, Oral, for as an opening day pitcher? You want to establish your first pitch fastball. You want to just throw it over the plate and see what happens. Altuve didn't give him a chance, though, did he?
No, Brett Wallace jumped on it right away, too. And they know he tries to live with that two-seamer. And the best thing about that pitch, though, is to get that ground ball again. It's at somebody. It's a double play.
Beltre way off the line at third. And another foul off by Wallace, 0-2. Wallace is a guy, former first-round pick by St. Louis when Jeff Luhnow, the current general manager of the Astros, was the scouting director of the Cardinals, so he's familiar with him. And Wallace went from St. Louis to Oakland to Toronto to Houston, all in the span of just a couple of years, Crooked.
And you can tell how much Harrison loves his two-seam fastball. Even with the hole open with the lefty, he's still running it in on Wallace's hands.
Ron Washington telling us he really had two good options for opening day between Matt Harrison and Yu Darvish. But he said Harrison led the team in wins last year with 18. He also felt Harrison was the most consistent pitcher that the Rangers had last year, so he deserved to get the opening day start. 2-2, and the runner is breaking. Throw down. Got him. And Bo Porter, less than 1 inning into his big league managerial career, is going to be out talking to an umpire. Andy Fletcher, the second base umpire.
Well, AJ bounces on that one pretty quick, and he gets to it. And it looks like right there, Altuve's on the base before the tag by Andrus. Usually when that ball bounces, it comes up, and the shortstop has to give a little. You see that there, just in time. The foot hits the bag before the tag.
Well, Bo Porter jumped out there with the right reason in mind, and he'll gain some respect from the umpires for not having bad vision.
So Altuve retired, 2-6 on the putout, and now swing and a miss by Wallace, and just like that, 2 down. Well, we've already seen the Ranger defense come into play. Let's show you the players on the field defensively for Ron Washington. A Beltre, a 4-time Gold Glover at third. Andrews and a Kinsler up the middle. Mitch Moreland at first, and the newcomer A.J. Pierzynski behind the plate. Left to right in the outfield, David Murphy. Leonis Martin, who's going to get a chance to play a lot this year. And then Nelson Cruz in right field. Here's Carter. And a breaking ball in for a strike, 0-1.
It's a young man you haven't heard much about, but he's going to hit some home runs and hit them a long way. In batting practice, John, it's some of the most power I have seen for a guy that really doesn't shift his weight at all. Just strong torque and hands.
Yeah, he's got great hips, too. Them hips fly out, and when he catches on out front, it goes.
3 pitches and gone, and the inning is over. No runs, a base hit, nobody left. Scoreless at the end of 1 on opening night. Baseball on ESPN from Minute Maid Park in Houston. The Astros playing their first ever game in the American League after spending 51 seasons in the National League. Bud Norris getting the Rangers in order in the first. He'll face Adrian Beltre, David Murphy, and Nelson Cruz here in the top of the second. And the strike taken by Beltre, coming off another great year. .321, 36 homers, 102 RBIs, and a Gold Glove. 33 years of age. Swing and a miss at the slider, 0-2. And Oral, that one was more 12-6 as opposed to 2-8.
He's got a small one, he's got a big sweeper, and then he's got that one, if he stays on it real well, that's straight down. And that's the one that's the key to the outing, that he can throw for a strike. It almost acts like a split finger when it goes straight down.
Line to third, one down. Now, the Texas Rangers, of course, have been one of the most successful teams in baseball in recent years. They have advanced to the postseason 3 years in a row, made it all the way to the World Series in 2010, lost to the Giants, got within a strike of winning the World Series on 2 occasions in 2011, lost to the Cardinals, and then blew the American League West Division lead late in the last week of the year. Last year, lost the wild card game to Baltimore. So they've averaged 93 wins a year the last 3. They've been to the playoffs all 3. They have not won the World Series, although they've been there twice. David Murphy steps in. Ron Washington is very confident. Crucky, let me start with you. Are the Rangers still the team that they've been? Are they still a threat to go the distance?
I think they are because of their starting pitching. I really believe Derek Holland's going to have a big year. I think he's one of those guys that's been an enigma where he throws like he did in the World Series. He pitched a great game in the 2011 World Series, and then he struggles in the regular season. But I think he's going to turn around. And I like the team they have now. I like the speed in the outfield. The defense now in the outfield is better, I think. Even though Josh Hampton's a great player, but Martine's probably going to cover more ground than Josh. And Gentry's a really good their 4th outfielder. I think they're going in a different direction. They're not going to be the big 3-run homer, but I think they're going to pitch and defend better.
And I think their offense might be fine. The key to the offense for me is the health of A.J. Pierzynski and the health of Lance Berkman, and then an upside year from Ian Kinsler, who had a down year last year. I think they can make up the production if those guys can produce and stay in the lineup.
A strike ticketed by Murphy, 3-1. You mentioned Josh Hamilton. You can't talk about the Rangers without talking about Hamilton. Not only not being in Texas, but he goes to a divisional rival, the Angels, and we'll see the Rangers hosting the Angels a week from tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. So they bring in Berkman and they bring in Pierzynski, but they lose a guy who year after year was among the top hitters in the American League. Leonis Martin will be out in center field, as will Craig Gentry. They're different kinds of players. They hit for average. They're defenders. They've got speed. They certainly don't have the power that Josh Hamilton does. What kind of an adjustment is that for this Texas team and in the clubhouse as well?
Well, I think in the clubhouse they're going to miss Michael Young the most. They're not going to miss Josh in the clubhouse. They're going to miss his production on the field. I think, to me, what has to happen when you lose a guy with that hits 40 homers, drives in 120 runs, and hits 300 every year, is other guys have to pick their game up. Nelson Cruz has to be better. He has to be a lot better than he was last year. This guy right here, Murphy, given enough playing time, I think he could be a 20-25 homer guy. I really do. But that's what has to happen. Lance and AJ have to be themselves, but Cruz has to be the guy that picks it up.
Check swing, and Murphy draws the walk. Time now to take a look at some new faces and new places, brought to you by Denny's. And these are players who have left the Texas Rangers. We mentioned Josh Hamilton. You mentioned Michael Young. Mike Napoli, big power behind the plate. And a couple of pretty important relievers. And Mike Adams and Koji Uehara. They bring in Berkman and Pierzynski. Joaquim Soria, who is injured right now, but should be back, they hope, by the 1st of June. And they led the majors in offense last year, almost 5 runs per game. Nelson Cruz steps in and bounces one foul up the third baseline. Cruz, like Kinsler, his numbers took a step back last year from where they had been in 2011.
And he really slacked off as far as hitting with runners in scoring position, expanded his strike zone a lot last year, and really didn't get those easy RBIs when they were out there for the picking. And he needs to be able to be a productive hitter in key situations, not just when he hits the blast.
How far Matt Dominguez is away from the third baseline, and Bud Norris threw first pitch slider. Cruz gets out in front and hooks it down the line. I mean, if that ball stays fair, it's if he catches it, it's an infield hit. I didn't know Nelson Cruz was that big an opposite field hitter, because the outfield's playing him to pull with Maxwell in center, over into left center field.
Yep, second baseman shading up the middle. Now, Oral, as a pitcher, if you saw this, if you didn't approve of it, what would you do? Would you make eye contact with Dominguez?
Well, I would usually go over it with the defensive reporter where they think they're going to play, and if I saw some overshifts that I didn't agree with, and really not about where they're going to hit the ball, but don't take pitch selection away from me. Meaning, if I've got my third baseman that far off the line, as they do with Dominguez, that does take away my slow slider, my slow curveball, even my changeup, that I could give up a hit and a double that used to have been a routine out.
Oh, Bud Norris right there just threw another breaking ball that stayed middle in. That if it's down a little bit, he hits it hard.
Runner goes, pitch taken high, throw down, and out at second is Murphy. Jason Castro throwing him out, 2-4 on the putout.
Jason Castro back for some knee trouble, missed most of last year, but now they're saying in camp he's swinging a great bat, but behind the plate the feet are quick, the release was great, and that was an outstanding throw from that young man. They're expecting big things from him back there, the leadership and the offense.
Well, and you wonder, with the absence of Josh Hamilton and Mike Napoli and Michael Young, are the Rangers going to try to force the issue more?
Breaking ball fouled off, 2-2 on Cruz.
It looked like Ron Washington just going with an aggressive style play, because you still have two boppers right here, and Cruz and Przinski coming up. Przinski in the hole on deck. I mean, having 27 home runs last year, his best production as far as the home run is concerned.
Oh, it's inside.
A little bit inside, says home plate umpire Sam Holbrook, and the count is full.
Yep.
Norris making his first opening day start. Last year's 7-13, 4.65 ERA. And just foul. And Crucky, as you were talking about, they were playing with fire with the positioning of Dominguez, and it almost cost him right there.
Well, normally your corner infielders, first and third, you're getting a signal from the shortstop or second baseman. In this case, Ronnie Cedeno giving signals to Matt Dominguez, and it's, hey, slider. He might just whistle or something. That means an off-speed slider, breaking ball's coming. Dominguez might shift another step or two.
And especially with two outs, you don't want to give up a two-out double. Give him the routine single to left in the other hole, but don't give him a double with two outs and put somebody in scoring position.
Well, he throws him another slider. He might be 1-0.
Fastball high, ball 4. Second walk given up in the inning by Norris.
That's communication right there. He has to go to the fastball. He's got his defender. He went with the trick pitch in the 3-2 and threw the slider. Almost gave up the double. That slider 3-2 is kind of a pitch you're going to get the hitter out in front of. It's not expected by the hitter, especially opening day with the adrenaline going and 3-2. You think you're getting cheese. Almost burned him.
Here's A.J. Pierzynski, signed as a free agent with Texas after playing the last 8 years with the White Sox. You can see a career high 27 home runs last season. What kind of a feeling did you guys get from Ron Washington about what Pierzynski has brought to the team so far?
He talks a lot.
But they're giving it right back to him. They're comfortable with A.J. now, and I'm sure there were a few guys that were on their heels when they heard him open his mouth early in spring training. But
I've never played 18 holes of golf with a person who the golf etiquette of being quiet doesn't apply with A.J. He talked the whole round.
He's not a big protocol etiquette kind of guy.
No.
Chases it, and it's 0-2.
Apparently he's not a fan of that slider to the dirt either. I hated that pitch. I like to think he's a veteran. He's setting the young man up, but no.
Well, I think the way they've been check swinging and swinging over the top of it, I think you were exactly right about how tight the spin is today for Bud Norris's slider, because they're just not recognizing it till really late.
Cruz the lead at first, 2 down.
You got to throw him another.
No. Fastball, base hit.
He outthought himself out there. He says, well, he knows that I'm going to throw him another slider, so he's probably expecting it. So I'll try and sneak this fastball by him. And A.J. just puts the barrel of the bat on it, kind of blocks it out there to left field, gets himself a hit.
Wouldn't you risk it? Wouldn't you risk, let's bounce another one? If you bounce it, it's either ball 1, and now you have 1 and 2, or he swings it. And he tries to throw a fastball here for some inexplicable reason.
Well, he made a mistake with it because he got too much of the plate and too not high enough. If he's going to throw it there, go ahead and throw it as a setup pitch and go up the ladder a little higher.
You can't trick AJ.
He's not thinking with you?
Nope. There's not a whole lot of thought process goes into his hitting.
Here's Mitch Moreland, the first baseman. Had a great spring for the Rangers, coming off a year in which he hit 15 home runs, drove in 50. 2 on with 2 outs here in the top of the second.
I'm out.
Cruz with decent speed out at second. Pierzynski the runner at first. Slider in the dirt, blocked by Castro.
I'm out.
Well, that's the first slider we've seen that short of home plate, and that's the first time you will see, I think, Bud Norris have a little opening day jitters. And you don't want to give up that first hit. You want to get through the first inning like he did, but now he's in his first jam of the year, and we see the first pitch is just a spike slider, about a 55-footer. Not a big fan of Cedeno at short, deking back the runner with 2 out. I want to keep my infielders in a place where we're just going to get an out. And don't worry about somebody stealing third here. If he gets too far off, let Bud Norris step off, but don't get out of position and leave some holes open in the infield.
And especially with a fastball away. I mean, he had that whole hole to hit through. Moreland did.
You know, Dan, those are the kind of issues that with a young team and not a lot of veterans on the Houston Astros as they go through this rebuilding process, that the little finesse parts of the game that Bo Porter is really going to have to work hard with his coaching staff to continually stay with these guys and not correct them every single moment he sees it, but really stay with them, because they're going to feel like they do nothing right if they corrected every single mistake they saw in every inning.
Well, you talked to Bo Porter, and we'll get into this more as the game allows, but he brings a lot of positive energy to the conversation with you. He almost has kind of a football exuberance to him, and he used to play some football. He was a 40th round pick in baseball, played parts of 3 seasons in the big leagues. Nothing came easily. He had to work for everything he's gotten. Very highly thought of as a coach, and he is telling his players, ignore the noise. That's their motto. Don't pay attention to what other people say this team can't do. He says, go out and compete, try to win every game, and let's see what happens. And he says, and this is his quote, that they have drilled that into the players from day one of spring training, that get rid of the outside noise and just focus on competing every day on the field.
And part of that outside noise is he doesn't want the term rebuilding brought into the process. That tells you that we're not, it tells your guys we're not going to be very good because we're trying to figure something out here. He doesn't want that to enter into their thought process as they're playing a game.
2-2.
Bud Norris knows he needs to make a pitch. He's thrown everything he's got. He's pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher. He's not going to go to his 3rd pitch here as a changeup. He fought off his slider. He hasn't been able to sneak the fastball by him. He knows he's got to make a good one.
Made a good one with the slider to strike him out and end the inning. So the Rangers leave a couple on. As we mentioned, ignore the noise is the motto for the Astros. They get the Rangers out in the second. Houston, new league for the Astros and new look as well, as they have modernized, changed their logo, their jerseys. They're doing some brisk business. They began, of course, as the Colt 45s back in 1962 in the playoffs for the first time in 1980. Drake McClain takes over the team in 1992. This ballpark, then known as Enron Field, opens in 2000. They make it to the World Series in 2005, but lose to the White Sox. And then in 2011, Jim Crane buys the team and becomes the owner as Crane looks on from his seat here at Minute Maid Park tonight. There are a lot of opinions and feelings about this team in this city this year. A lot of people are unhappy. They've grown up in the National League, and they're unhappy their team is in the American League. There's Carlos Pena, who looks at a strike from Matt Harrison. And they're also wondering about all the players that were traded away. Is it the right thing to do to just completely gut the Major League team? They've brought in some veterans like a Pena to try to fill the gaps until the farm system can start producing players. But most of the best talent in the organization is considered to be in the low minors. Look at the shift that is on for Pena, who's been kind of an all-or-nothing guy the last few years.
Kinsler's playing short right field, but Martin is playing left center. In center field, he's shaded over to left. So apparently they're thinking he's going to hit the ball in the air the other way and pull grounders. Oh, that's the way the Braves played me when I was playing. Pull on the ground, in the air the other way.
Now, did it work?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, Maddox and Glavine didn't. Smoltz didn't.
That didn't hurt.
Had nothing to do with the defense, huh?
Yeah.
Guy on the mound.
Yeah, they didn't have to catch many.
Swing and a miss by Pena. 3 consecutive strikeouts now for Harrison.
Speaking of Mr. Tom Glavine, there's a changeup from a lefty to a lefty that Mr. Tom Glavine brought into the big leagues when he was with the New York Mets at the end of his career, looking for other weapons, and other now current left-handers are doing the same thing.
And I think that's a great pitch. A lefty to a lefty, throw a changeup in, and people say, oh, why would you throw it in? Because you're taught as a hitter, everything in should be hard. Something hard in is the pitch, and when you throw that changeup, you get out in front like Pena did.
Here's Justin Maxwell, the center fielder. Hit .229 last year, 18 home runs. Former Yankee farmhand who made his Major League debut with the Nationals, now in his second year with the Astros. Line to third and speared by Beltre for the second out.
What a surprise. Adrian caught it. He's so good down there.
You're going to get some arguments down in Tampa about Evan Longoria, but to me, he's the best third baseman in all of baseball. Unbelievable reflexes, great throwing arm, flat-footed, throws a 92 to first.
Yeah. He plays third base with his hands, where a lot of guys have to play with their feet, and it doesn't matter what position or where his weight transfer is. His throws are hard and accurate.
And he has fun playing the game, as you can see right there. He really loves going out there and playing every day.
He always has those little minor injuries at the beginning of spring training, but always seems to get healthy for opening day.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
Here's Jason Castro, the Houston catcher. As Oral mentioned a little bit earlier, he's healthier now. He missed all of 2011 after knee surgery, and the knee was still a problem off and on last year. But we had 3 people say the exact same thing to us about him yesterday. He's got his legs underneath him now, and they think it's going to help him tremendously both behind the plate and with the bat.
Well, I played with a guy in Darren Dalton that had, his knee reconstructed after collision at home. It took him 2 or 3 years to get that feeling that, now I can trust my knees to swing hard and my balance and my power using my legs. It took him a few years. When he got it, though, he got it pretty good.
You can see Castro finished last season well, had a big spring as well, hitting for a lot of power, but comes up empty this time as Matt Harrison now has 4 strikeouts in his first 2 innings of work. that intrigues us as well, because that's the game we're going to be doing tomorrow. We're heading to Los Angeles tonight and looking forward to the Giants and the Dodgers tomorrow. Game 2 of the quadruple header on the ESPN family of networks. It figures to be quite a storyline all season long in the National League West. The Giants, who have won 2 World Series in the last 3 years, and the Dodgers, who loaded up last year and even more so in the offseason, now in excess of a $200 million payroll. And will it all come together? Will they mesh? Will they be healthy? Will they be what they appear they could be on paper? How do you guys size up the National League West?
Well, I think people need to tip their hat to the San Francisco Giants and give them some credit, but it's easy to overlook them right now and talk about the Dodgers because of all the spending. And Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke give them a great 1-2 punch. Let's see if Kane and Bumgarner and Vogelsson and Zito and Lincecum can keep it going. It's going to be real interesting. I think go-to team battle right there.
Leonis Martin leading off the third for the Rangers. Scoreless game, and the pitch is high. Ball 3. Now, the Giants, of course, just making a huge deal with Buster Posey. 9 years, $167 million as they lock up their best player.
And a lot of people are going to question, why would they lock up a catcher for 9 years? You know, he's a catcher, but he's more than a catcher. He can play first base. He can play third base. Wherever they need him, he can play there. And there is talk about, in a few years, moving him to a different position to save the wear and tear and keep that productive offense in that arsenal.
Not a lot of changes for the Giants from last year to this year. They re-signed Scudero. They re-signed Pagan. By and large, they have the same team. They probably had as little turnover as just about any team in baseball between the end of last year and the beginning of this year.
Some of the scouts talking around the league say that it might be an issue with Sergio Romo at the end, you know, only throwing about 88 and relying a lot on the slider. You know, he did a great job last year in the playoffs and the World Series, but some people think, you know, maybe they might need help at the end of their bullpen.
I put my money on Sergio Romo. That slider's nasty.
It is nasty.
And he's got guts, and that goes a long way as a closer.
Swing and a miss, and Martin is gone, 1 down. Well, if you like pitching matchups, you're going to like tomorrow's game from Dodger Stadium. It'll be Matt Cain and Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw, Cy Young Award winner 2 years ago, the runner-up last year, led the league in ERA each year. And Matt Cain has been just sensational as well for the Giants in recent years. Remember how good he was the first time they went to the World Series and won it in 2010, and he's become about as rock-solid reliable as any starting pitcher in the game. Here's Kinsler as we move back to the top of the Rangers lineup.
You know, one of the questions on the Dodgers is Clayton Kershaw going to be able to stay healthy with that hip. And one of the things that would tell me that he is very, very healthy if he doesn't sign an extension before tomorrow's game. Because he said there'll be no negotiation for an extension during the season. So if he's feeling very confident about his health, maybe he will hold off and not go for Kane, Verlander, big numbers like Greinke got.
I never understood that. Why you wouldn't talk during the season? He pitches once every 5 days. What's the other 4 days? He can't take a phone call?
It's a distraction.
Oh, please.
Plus, you know, just let your agent talk.
Exactly,
you don't have
right.
to tell us the conversations are going on, and then just tell me what at the very end when you think you're real close, we can do the deal.
Call me when they have a final number and years, and then we'll talk. I mean, if someone's going to give me $200 million or $150 million,
that's a good distraction.
I'll talk whenever they want.
That's a lot of steak.
Whoa.
3-1 the count on to Kinsler. No score here in the top of the third in Houston.
That's a lot of golf. I don't know about you guys.
Kinsler with a fly ball to right field. His first time up. Now Altuve just went from the right field side of second to the left field side of second with the count of 3-1. Kinsler drills the ball to center, and Maxwell's there 2 down. Opening day baseball is on ESPN tomorrow, as Carl and Barry were talking about. It begins with the Red Sox and the Yankees at 1 o'clock Eastern time. It'll be John Lester for Boston and CC Sabathia for New York. And then, as mentioned, we'll have the defending World Series champion San Francisco Giants taking on their arch rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Matt Cain, Clayton Kershaw, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on ESPN. And 2 more games in the evening on ESPN2, Phillies and Braves, and then Cardinals and Diamondbacks. Just about everybody getting started tomorrow. A few teams will not begin their season until Tuesday. Here's Elvis Andrus. And a strike over the outside edge from Norris.
Elvis last year made a big step up in his offensive game. They're looking for him to make another stride. He had career highs in on-base percentage, average, RBIs, and he just continues to get stronger and more disciplined at the plate.
Shows bunt, takes it inside, a ball and a strike. Got the attention of Matt Dominguez down at third.
And you see Dominguez has moved in a little bit. He was way back on that play, but I think with two outs, Oral, if they want to lay down a bunt, let him lay it down.
Exactly.
Don't give him a double down the line, though.
A lot of times in this situation, I would tell my third baseman, look, I got the bunt. And if he makes a good enough one that I can't get him out, then you know what? I'd rather have him stand at first, but I don't want him getting that double down the line. And 2 out doubles down the line, if you give up enough of them over the year, they're going to cost you quite a few runs. Make them get 2 hits to get a run.
Fights off a high fastball. The count remains 1-2. Now the Rangers have one of the top prospects in baseball, Jurickson Profar, a middle infielder. A young kid who everybody who's seen him says is going to be terrific. They sent him back down to AAA. They don't really have a spot for him right now, with Andrus at short and Kinsler at second. Both of them all-stars. So the future will have to wait a little bit for Profar. Sinking liner, and did he trap it? They're going to rule it a catch. It's caught out in center by a diving Justin Maxwell to rob Andrus and end the inning. One more look going to break. Maxwell tracking, diving, and trapping. Welcome to opening night baseball on ESPN, presented by Burger King. Bottom of the third here in Houston with Oral Hershiser, John Kruk, Buster Olney. I'm Dan Schulman. Sunday night baseball here on ESPN as well as we get the 2013 season underway. You can join in on the conversation on Twitter with the hashtag opening night. And we are told, Crucky, you are trending.
What's that mean?
I think it means you get a raise.
Hey! I don't talk during the season.
Not on your throw day?
No. I don't want to be a distraction to you
yet.
two.
Not on Sunday.
With
not
my
on
contract squabbles.
Matt Dominguez, the third baseman. Matt Harrison on the mound, 4 strikeouts through 2, has given up 1 hit. That was to Jose Altuve, who was then thrown out trying to steal by A.J. Pierzynski. I should say thrown out trying to advance, not technically not thrown out trying to steal, trying to advance. The pitch was in the dirt, and then Altuve went, and Pierzynski threw him out, so not technically thrown out trying to steal. Now 2-2 on Dominguez. He'll be followed by Brandon Barnes and Ronnie Cedeno, the bottom third of the Houston lineup. And a roller to short. 1 down. Let's take a look now at the Scots home field advantage here at Minute Maid Park. This is a unique ballpark. The Crawford boxes just 315 feet down the left field line, tempting for all batters. And Towles Hill, one of the most unique aspects in any ballpark, named after Towles Smith, the former president of the Astros. We've got the locomotive here at Minute Maid Park, high above the fence out in left center. It goes over toward the left field corner. This place has some character. There's Amy Bailey with the camera and the conductor, Bobby Vasquez. Wave, Bobby. I am shocked that nobody on our crew asked you to go out there and ride that train.
Well, they probably knew if I went up that far, I would never get back here. Of course, I like oranges. There's a bunch of them up there.
Those are fake, John.
They're edible.
Swing and a miss, 2-1 on Barnes. Remember being here during the postseason in 04 and 05. The Astros made the World Series in 05, and they had just great teams. And this place rocked. This place was about as loud as any ballpark you could find back then. 2-2 to count. And it's a franchise with a proud tradition. They've had some great players, some Hall of Famers, and they're hoping that in the not too distant future that they'll get back to where they were. Harrison with his 5th strikeout already.
Well, he is really on his game. He's locating that 2-seamer to both sides of the plate. That was a swing and miss changeup right there. And you can throw the ball 94 miles an hour on the corners down and then come back with something around 82. Look at that changeup grip. He turns it over. He's throwing it with the 2 fingers in the middle of his hand. Not a complete okay changeup. Not really using his pinkies. Pinkies down on the side of the ball. Boy, he is locked in on that outside corner to righties.
2 down, nobody on for Ronnie Cedeno. Spent last year with the Mets. Released late this spring by the Cardinals. And picked up by the Astros, who were in search of a shortstop. Cedeno, 30 years of age, and another one of the veteran guys the Astros have brought in really as a stopgap until the farm system starts producing. And we met the young man yesterday who might eventually replace him, Carlos Correa, who was the first overall pick just last year. 18 years of age, and he is a big, impressive-looking kid.
He really looked like a young Alex Rodriguez to me when Alex came up to Seattle as a young man. Just the size of his hands and arms and just the chiseled body already. He looked like a tremendous athlete.
Down the right field line, and Cruz is there to end the inning. End of 3, no score. And former Astro great Lance Berkman will lead it off for the Rangers when we come back. Opening night baseball on ESPN, presented by Burger King, is brought to you by Scotts, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. Back in Houston, Dan Schulman, John Kruk, Oral Hershiser, Buster Olney. Rangers and Astros scoreless going to the fourth. Lance Berkman to lead it off against Bud Norris. Berkman grounding out his first time up. And a strike of the knees, 0-1. Lance Berkman wanted to chat about the strike zone a little bit with Sam Holbrook, the home plate umpire. Sharply hit into left center, a base hit. Maxwell cuts it off, and Berkman with a long single. Now Berkman is Texas through and through. Little leaguer in Austin. To high school in New Braunfels, Texas. Was the National Player of the Year in 1997 right here in Houston, playing at Rice. Of course, was an Astro for 11 outstanding years from 1999 through 2010. One of the most feared hitters in baseball. And this year signs a one-year deal with the Rangers. Do you know, if you look at all switch hitters in baseball history, only Mickey Mantle has a higher slugging percentage among switch hitters than Lance Berkman.
So he's higher than Eddie Murray.
Higher than Eddie Murray.
And Chipper?
And Chipper. Pretty impressive. Huh?
Very impressive.
Yeah.
That's what I don't think people understand. He's been a really good player for a long time. He flies under the radar, though, for some reason.
Adrian Beltre with a high fly ball left field. Carter has room. You can never be sure in this ballpark when it goes to left field, because it's not that far away to hit it out of here into the Crawford boxes. And I think another thing that people forget about Berkman, if you go back to 2011 with the Cardinals, Game 6, Freese tied it with the triple in the bottom of the ninth. Hamilton gave the Rangers the lead with the home run in the top of the 10th. And then they were down, the Cardinals were down to their final strike again in the bottom of the 10th, and Berkman bounced a base hit up the middle to tie the game and give Freese a chance to win that game in the bottom of the 11th. Here's Murphy. As you mentioned earlier, Crucky, he played a lot and played well last year. Hit over 300. And even though he's a left-handed batter, hit better against lefties. Hit 347 against lefties, and he might get even more playing time this year than he got last year. Hit 15 home runs. These guys really had to bide his time over the last few years, wait for that opportunity, wait for a chance to get more than about 400 at-bats.
He seems to be one of those guys the last 3 or 4 years that you know, he comes to spring training every year and they try to bring in guys to take his place. And every year, at some point in the season, he's getting a lot of playing time because the guy can hit. He might go first to third here with Berkman. Grounder in the hole. Not with that swing.
The emergency hack, huh?
Setting him up.
Time requested by Murphy. You can see how they feel about him too. He's hitting 5th in the order. He was a guy who the last couple of years would most often find himself 7th or 8th when he was in there. But with his success and the departure of a couple of key hitters, he is moving up in the order. It also gives him a chance to split up righties and lefties. Got Berkman, the switch hitter, hitting 3rd. Murphy, the left-handed batter, hitting 5th. And then Pierzynski, another left-handed batter, down in the 7th spot.
Every batting slot you move up, by the end of the year you get 20 more at bats. So you could end up with maybe 40 more at bats just from batting order position.
Bouncer foul.
And if they face a left-handed starter, they can always hit Berkman fourth, Beltre third, Cruz fifth, and then hit Murphy hit sixth, or whoever else they feel like they want to put out in the outfield. Interesting pitch selection here by Bud Norris with the runner on first base. With 2 strikes, the last thing you want to do is get fooled by anything. So you kind of get out in front and just try to wait a little bit. And he keeps throwing off-speed pitches. He's leaving that hole wide open for him to hit it.
Did a good job holding the swing up. That's that slider that Bud Norris has been throwing that the hitters have had a tough time recognizing. Murphy is the first one to really be able to hold up. I'm real surprised they were actually playing on the bag with Berkman down there at first. You play slightly behind him.
He had 2 stolen bases last year.
That's true.
That'll scare you.
2-2. Check swing on a fastball. Full count.
And he did a lot of speed work in the winter.
Yeah.
Any chance they start him? All jokes aside, any chance they start him?
I do. I think with the way Murphy's taken the last couple pitches, he's seeing the ball. Yep. And I think they feel like he can put it in play no matter if it's a strike, he can put it in play.
Ron Washington's been aggressive with all the base runners that have gotten on. They've gotten thrown out, but they have definitely been taking their chances so far and pushing the envelope.
And it's early in the season, so he's relatively healthy. July, probably not.
He's got the Astros worried.
Well, I can tell you from experience, when you're on first and you're not going to steal the base, but you're going to be running anyway, hoping the guy puts it in play, the last thing you want to do is have to slide back into first twice with that short a lead.
He's going. And Murphy with a fly ball to left field. 2 down. Berkman back to first. Nelson Cruz coming up now for Texas as we send it down to Buster.
Guys, of course, Nelson Cruz was one of the players whose names appeared in the documents of that Miami PED clinic, along with Ryan Braun, Alex Rodriguez, and others. I'm told that Major League Baseball is still in the process of investigating. At some point, they'll reach out to talk to the players. There is no timetable for this investigation.
And this is something that could affect potentially almost 100 players if the reports are true about how many players are rumored to be on the biogenesis clinic lists. And it may develop into an ongoing story over the course of the entire season, guys. And nobody knows how this is going to turn out. If nobody gets implicated or if all of them get implicated.
If all of them get implicated, it's going to be devastating. All the players they would have to suspend.
Oh, and 2. Mr. Manager Bo Porter will be joining Buster Olney. We'll have that interview for you next half inning.
We've seen Bud Norris try to sneak a fastball in after watching somebody look sick on a breaking ball. I think he needs to stay breaking ball low and away in the dirt. Good try, just didn't get it down.
I'd throw him another one. I'd bounce another one.
Bounce it.
Trust Castro that he'll block it, keep it in front of him, keep Berkman from advancing to second, but I would bounce another one just to see if he'll chase it.
The same kind that the lefties have had a tough time laying off of. It's been disappearing on them. It stays right on the plate but goes straight down.
He better not hang it.
No.
Because he's pulling off really well right now. If it hangs middle end, he's going to crush it.
Fastball got in on him just enough. Inning over. No runs, a base, and a man left. Still no score. You'll hear from Astros manager Bo Porter when we come back next half inning. On ESPN, no score, Rangers and Astros. Now, Bo Porter, the first-year manager of the Astros, a guy who played parts of 3 seasons in the big leagues, has managed in the minors, coached with the Marlins, the Diamondbacks, the Nationals, now the manager of the Astros, and between innings visited with our Buster Olney.
Bo, a long road for you to becoming a major league manager. What does this night mean to you?
It means a lot. You know, when you play the game and you think about what you're going to do after the game, it's something that I thought about when I got to the back end of my career, and I'm extremely honored and humbled, you know, at this opportunity, and I'm just excited for the city of Houston and the Houston Astros organization.
Matt Harrison dealing so far. What do you see as the adjustments for your hitters to make tonight?
I think we need to slow him down. I mean, he's getting the ball, and the ball is coming back out every 6-7 seconds. I think we need to make him slow down and kind of take our time a little bit and get better pitches to hit.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Buster Olney, Bo Porter. Bottom 4, no score. Matt Harrison facing Jose Altuve. There's a base hit tonight. The only base runner so far for the Astros as he hits a fly ball to center field, but it's a big, spacious center field here. Plenty of room for Martin, one down. And Bo's wife, Stacy, is a native of Houston. One of the things that excited him about taking this job, he was rumored, maybe, guys, to be the next manager of the Washington Nationals. A coach there, but Davey Johnson came back for at least this year, beyond who knows. We've gotten a chance over the last couple of days to spend some time with Bo Porter. Get to know him, talk to him about his philosophies, his ideas. What do you guys take away from those meetings? What stands out to you guys about Porter?
Enthusiasm, intensity, genuine purpose to his life and the plan he has for the Astros and these players. And he's a straight shooter.
Yeah, I think the players are going to know where they stand with him. I don't think there's going to be any sugarcoating. You know, what he told us today in our meeting with him was, you know, you guys are big leaguers, and you're expected to compete like big leaguers and you know, give us 100% every single day, and he's going to hold them accountable to that.
So much is said about what he said about, you know, don't pay any attention to the noise.
Yep.
And some of the noise for him is that, you know, just because our salaries aren't as high as our opponents doesn't mean that we're necessarily supposed to lose. Nobody wins on salary. We go out there on effort and execution, and we'll take everybody on. We'll take all comers. But Dan, it doesn't matter sometimes how much the manager motivates you if you don't have enough talent, and I think that's where they're going to end up this year, with not enough talent. But I think their major goal, unspoken goal, not something Bo has said, but I would maybe kind of predict, would be the fact that they're just going to try and find out where their big leaguers are and what other holes they have so they can move forward this organization.
An 0-2 pitch. Wallace bangs one up the middle for a base hit. He talked to us about hoping that a year from now that they don't have as many jobs open in spring training, that more is settled, that he can learn from this year who can be part of the future, who can be part of the core, and who is not able to be part of the core. And this is another one of the sayings, and this one is Bo Porter's himself. The road to being a champion is always under construction. And there's Jeff Luhnow, the general manager of the Astros. And there's no doubt this is a team under construction. They don't like to use the term rebuilding around here, but this is a real fixer-upper right now with this team. They've traded off almost every recognizable name. They're trying to build from within. There's Craig Biggio, one of the all-time Astro greats, and an assistant, special assistant to the GM here in Houston.
Looks like he can still play,
doesn't
too.
Yep.
Wow.
Narrowly missed going into the Hall of Fame this year. Probably, you would imagine, will get there next year.
Some of us let ourselves go after we retired, and apparently he decided to stay in shape. Sickening.
Special assistant to the general manager and doing some coaching for his son's baseball team.
0-2 to Carter. Moreland over near the seats, won't have a play. And Bo Porter says he's not going to measure success this year by wins and losses. It's about the process. It's about the growth as a team and as an organization. They lost 106 2 years ago, lost 107 last year. You think they can do better than that? Some people are saying they won't do that well as they've done the last.
It's going to be tough to do better than that because of the division they're in right now. You're talking about some really, really good teams.
Moving to the American League West, joining the likes of the Angels, the Rangers, of course, the defending division champs in the A's, and a Seattle team that brought in a lot of offense in the offseason, and they look like they're improved.
Kendrys Morales, Michael Morse. I mean, they added some guys who came from winning situations with the Angels and with the Washington Nationals. And I think you have to, when you have a young team like they have, you bring in guys from a winning organization, and they can teach these guys how to go about the winning process.
It's hard to teach winning when you're playing against teams that know how to win already, and it's going to be a challenge to keep their spirits up and to learn in a possible really bad losing environment as far as record is concerned.
And that's where Bo Porter says the veterans, the handful of veterans they brought in, and this is his term, he said they were handpicked. A guy like Carlos Pena, who's at the plate, Rick Ankiel, who was with Bo Porter in Washington. They wanted some veterans who could help get the younger kids through the tough times.
Well, and to not have any divisive veterans that we're going to be on the same page and back the manager and his voice. Because the worst thing you can do is bring in veterans that maybe lose interest because of the growth and the quote-unquote construction. And then all of a sudden your voice from the manager's office doesn't ring as true because there can be some cancers in the locker room.
The last thing young players need to hear is grumbling from a veteran about how terrible our team is. But believe me, I've been a part of that.
It's real hard to get them out early for early BP or to work on PFP or to have infield practice, and you can get them out there because you have the authority, but to get them to concentrate and to continue to learn and grow, it's harder if the veterans don't back you.
Base hit through the left side. Wallace, big turn. And we'll head back to second. They had the shift on for Pena, and he hit it through the open side of the infield.
Watching him in batting practice today, he hit a couple balls way deep into the seats in left field. One off the wall out there and over the Crawford boxes. I think he's making a conscious effort to hit the ball the other way, and especially lefty-lefty. You know, I know as a left-handed hitter, if I could hit the ball the other way against a lefty, it was a great weapon. And Tony Gwynn taught me that early. Try to hit lefties the other way. Carlos Pena has to figure out a way to hit the ball more the other way to take that shift away from him. And I hear this stuff all the time. Oh, we'd rather give him a single to left and let him pull it to right. Okay, how many men are on base when you're giving him that single to left? There it didn't hurt you yet because Wallace didn't go to third base, but I mean, I don't want to give a hit to anyone anyway, a free hit.
So now 2 men on with 2 outs. No score in the bottom of the 4th. And here's Justin Maxwell lined out to third his first time up. Maxwell struggled in the spring to swing the bat as he takes down and away ball 1. 29 years of age, as we mentioned, a few years with the Nationals, up and down between the majors and AAA. 6'5", 220.
We'll pitch him careful with a lefty on deck.
To left field and deep. Off the top of the wall, stays in play. 2 runs are home. Maxwell's on his way to third, and it's 2-0 Astros.
He's trying to pitch him tough, and he hangs a little breaking ball over the middle of the plate, and Maxwell does a good job not trying to do too much with it. This young man has tremendous power and doesn't get all of this, but the ball carries very well here. He got it high enough with some backspin. Murphy leaped, but he has no chance. This ball hit the top edge there. The umpires are going to gather and think about what it did, but remember, you got to get up over the yellow line out there in left field, not just the edge of the numbers on the scoreboard.
Bo Porter's out in the infield, so he must have gone out and said, hey, are you guys sure that didn't hit above the yellow line?
They're going to go check.
They're going to go look at it. Well, this will be a quick one because it was 3 feet below the yellow line. So it's going to be under review, but clearly not a home run.
Yeah,
and even if there's fan interference, the hat on the interference is on the other side of the yellow line. Also, you see this hat come down just barely, and doesn't look like it hits the hat of the fan trying to reach over.
Either way, though, a big at bat for Justin Maxwell here on opening night. A 2-run triple to give the Astros the lead in the bottom of the fourth. Matt Harrison will take the opportunity to throw some warm-up pitches to stay loose while the review is going on.
Justin Maxwell, he hits the ball and he's kind of watching it. He thinks he got it out, or he's hoping it hits the wall. He doesn't start running hard till he's about halfway to second base. Now, I'm not saying he could have had an inside the park home run, but he didn't give his third base coach a chance to send him because he Cadillac'd at the first base. And that's something your manager, you watch. Young players, how do they participate in the game?
And the ruling on the field stands.
Hey, I don't know if Maxwell would have gotten inside the park home run, but you've got to give your third base coach a chance. And if he ran hard to first, who knows? Because he got into third easily.
And you had the little bobble out there and left.
Well, and you have a lefty-lefty matchup here, and he overmatched Castro's last at bat with the strikeout. So you got to think maybe I'd take a chance and send him.
Castro striking out his first time up. 2-0 Houston in the bottom of the fourth. Infielders playing him to pull. Beltre way off the line at third. Outfielders playing him to hit the ball the other way. A big gap down the right field line for Castro. This is the defense that Crucky was talking about before. You see it more and more often with left-handed batters, that they'll pull the ball on the ground, but they'll hit the ball the other way in the air. Maxwell drives in the first runs here in the 2013 season, and Houston has the lead. They'll play their first 15 games this year against divisional opponents, so they're going to find out early exactly what they're in for in the American League West. Harrison covering. Castro retired and the inning is over, but Houston has the lead 2-0 at the end of 4. Buster Olney with Texas manager Ron Washington when we come back. Maxwell has given the Astros a 2-0 lead. Between innings, Buster Olney with Rangers manager Ron Washington.
Harris in that inning after rolling through the first three.
Well, you know, he got 2 quick strikes on Wallace, and you know, then he just made a mistake with a fastball with 2 strikes on him, and he got a base hit there. And Carlos Pena is a veteran hitter, threw another fastball to him, and he found a hole. And then the changeup he threw just ran back in on Maxwell, and he hit it off the wall. So
this is your first game in years without Michael Young, without Josh Hamilton. How different is your clubhouse?
Well, my clubhouse is the same. You know, we got guys up in there that knows how to win, and that's what we're about. So there isn't anything changed in my clubhouse other than the fact Hamilton is not there and Michael Young isn't there.
Ron, thanks.
Thank you.
So a couple of very significant changes. Overall, of course, just about everybody is back for Texas. Here's one of the newcomers in A.J. Pierzynski. But Ron Washington, for years, would speak about what Michael Young meant in the clubhouse, even if he wasn't swinging the bat well at the time. As Pierzynski sends a ball slicing down the left field line and foul. What do you guys think about leadership? How important is it, and what are they lacking in Michael Young not being there in the clubhouse?
I think what they're lacking is that what we've talked to with the Philadelphia Phillies when we've been in their camp is what Michael Young brings to a team, especially to younger players. But about, you know, it's not he's a big vocal guy. He's not going to be a yeller and a screamer. But you know, hitting, the approach to hitting, the what to look for type of thing, breaking down a pitcher. You know, Dominic Brown of the Phillies credits Michael Young with pretty much what he's done this spring besides the adjustments he's made, but the mental part of hitting. And I think that's, to me, is a great leader. When you have a skill, if you can get that skill, your knowledge of hitters or pitchers, and you can get that to the rest of your guys, young guys especially, you're in good shape.
Swing and a miss by Pierzynski, 1 down.
Not only do leaders talk the game and talk it the correct way and teach it continually, but they're not the last one to straggle on the field for stretching. They're not the one to the batting cage that forgot their bat and needs to send somebody back. They keep things sharp and keep things on top of it, and it then sends a message to everybody that if the oldest veteran guy, the highest paid guy, the most respected guy is always on time, always concentrating, always hustling, that's the message also.
Here's Mitch Moreland, struck out his first time up. Bud Norris now with 4 strikeouts and a 2-0 lead here in the 5th inning.
When you look at the New York Yankees over the last 18 years, since '95 when Derek Jeter was there, as soon as he established himself as a star, you see the guys they brought in. They don't, not many guys that they have brought in have lollygagged at the first base, you know, jogged on a routine grounder, you know, because when your best player doesn't do it, then you better not do it either. And the ones that do it, they aren't there long.
Sets the tone.
Infielders playing Moreland to pull. Outfielders basically straight away. Fastball runs off the outside corner. 2 balls and a strike. You can see out beyond Maxwell in center field. We mentioned Towles Hill, a 30-degree slope down to the 436 sign in center. You really got to hit it to get it there. But if you do, it is an adventure to say the least for the center fielder.
Well, and there's a pole out there.
Yeah. All kinds of obstacles. Shallow left field. Carter there, 2 down. Here's back in 2002, Lance Berkman up on the hill, makes the catch. Playing center field back in the day, twisting and turning and stumbling, but he makes the catch.
Told me earlier he's probably not going to be doing that anymore.
No, those days are gone for Lance Berkman.
I think if the Rangers need him in center field, they've got a plethora of injuries and they're not in good shape.
He might twist and turn and stumble on level ground.
Crosley Field in Cincinnati way back in the day had a hill in left field, but at a 15-degree angle. This is a 30-degree slope. Chopper to third off the bat of Martin, and the Rangers go in order. Going to the bottom of the 5th here on opening night in Houston, and the Astros have a 2-0 lead. Bottom 5, 2-0 Astros. Matt Dominguez leading it off against Matt Harrison. Dominguez, the third baseman, 284 in limited at bats last year with the Astros. You just saw his AAA numbers. A lot of guys on this team split last year between the minors and the majors. Won themselves a job here this spring. More for his glove than his bat. It's the only game going on tonight around the majors. There are a bunch of games tomorrow. On opening day, including 4 here on the ESPN family of networks. We'll be out in LA for the Giants and Dodgers.
It's not a cushy job, John. We got to go on a plane tonight, get there for a day game, not that studio thing anymore. We travel.
Day game after a night game. 3-1.
2 games in less than 24 hours out here for us road warriors.
I can't even begin to say what I want to say.
I thought I shut him up
without getting fired.
Yeah, it's early in the season for you to take that risk.
Get a few more games under your belt.
Thank you. Well, tonight's travel is going to be real difficult.
It could be a lot worse. Have you been? Have you been to every ballpark that there is in baseball?
I've never been to Seattle. Safeco?
Right.
Never been there. What else is new?
Pittsburgh.
Nationals Park. I haven't been there.
Changeup swung on and missed, and Dominguez is gone. Welcome back to Houston, along with Oral Hershiser and John Kruk. You know him from the studio. He'll be with us on Sunday Night Baseball every week. This week, doing the games for us. You a Dodger Stadium fan? What are your memories of Dodger Stadium?
Never a fan of Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, as a hitter, of course. Yeah, never
yeah.
Were, yeah.
Well, you know, I think most of their pitchers cheated.
No names?
That's just me.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to mention any names.
No, I didn't.
No names mentioned.
No.
But no. How you doing, Oral?
Yeah, you still hit over 300 against him in your career.
Yeah. Well, apparently I hit the good side of the ball.
He was going to say the dry side.
Well, you'll be.
I went. You know, my first game in the major leagues was at Dodger Stadium.
Oh, really?
And they put me in as a pinch runner. That's how bad we were as a Padre team.
Tough times.
I was a pinch runner in like the 9th inning, I think. They put me in. Gary Temple was on third. They said, second pitch for Fernando, you're going to steal, hit and run. You know, Templeton's going to hopefully put the ball in play. You're going to score a run and all that stuff. And I took off, and the hitter didn't swing, and it was right down the middle. And I got tagged out, and everyone thought I blew the game.
Doesn't feel real good.
Wow, I was scared to death, too.
So that opening day, when you guys think of maybe not your first opening day, but just what does opening day mean to you guys? What does it mean to you guys as players?
Well, it's a really exciting day, but as a starting pitcher, I did not like pitching on opening day. It's just so much pageantry and could be delays with all the festivities before the game. So really like to be meticulous about their preparation. But I remember the worst one I had was the Marlins inaugural game. I got killed. Charlie Huff throwing the knuckleball out there, butterflies for the Marlins. They won their opening day. And the worst part was the next day I had to sign all the memorabilia as a loser.
How many opening days did you start?
I'll bet you probably only 3 or 4.
Really?
Yeah. Because I didn't like him. I told him I'll take game 2. And I wasn't really up there. We had Fernando. We had a lot of guys that could have had a choice at who you're going to start opening day.
88, I assume you did.
I think I might have.
89, you definitely did, coming off 88.
You know what? 89, I didn't pitch till the 3rd or 4th.
Oh, really? Base hit into right field, booted out there. And coming around from first to score is Barnes, heading to third. Cedeno, 3-0 Astros.
Well, the pitch is on. That's a great piece of hitting with the hit and run on right here. But Nelson Cruz, he just boxed it. He just missed it. There's no excuse. There's no. I can't make an excuse for him. He just missed the ball. It happens. But you see it right there, the runner running, and he's not even looking. He don't need his third base coach. He knows that ball's hitting the ground. I'm scoring. Now he needs him right here when he sees the ball get away from Cruz. And Cedeno was out dead to rights at third base, and Kinsler dropped the ball.
So 3-0 Houston. The infield in now for Texas. The scoring on the play is a base hit for Cedeno, and then E9, an error on Cruz, no RBI on the play. Runner at third, one out. Astros up 3-0. The Rangers bringing the infield in to try to keep it at a 3-run deficit. And Altuve, who's a free swinger, already has a base hit tonight. Also hit a ball hard to center field. Looking to get something through the infield or to the outfield to bring home another run. Altuve stands just 5 foot 5 inches, but hit almost 300 last year, was an all-star, stole 33 bases, and hit .359 last year against left-handed pitching.
Well, Harrison's trying to get the ground ball, and Worrell, you talked about his two-seamer acting like a sinker ball, but he's getting the ball up right here in the situation where you need a ground ball.
Yeah, he wants the pop-up or the ground ball, and really the inning when he got in trouble with Dominguez hitting the long fly ball to left is when he was trying to trick somebody. If he just stuck with that hard stuff down, he was really dominating the Astro lineup.
Line drive, base hit, right center field, 4-0 Astros.
5'5", 175 pounds, standing at first base, but that's another big RBI right there, and he goes up on his toes to hit this one. It's a high fastball up around his chin almost, and he comes up out of his stance just to kind of raise up and get his hands above the ball to get the barrel of the bat on it and square it up and not pop it up. You get your hands above the ball because the bat's going to end up below your hands. You still got a chance to hit a line drive. If your hands are below the ball, you're going to pop that up.
And if I'm Altuve right here, I'm going first pitch. Things are happening right now. Matt Harrison's head spin. He might not pay attention. I'm taking off and trying to create another run with your legs.
Yeah, Matt Harrison only given up 1 stolen base in his last 37 regular season starts, so he's real good at quick stepping. But if you go first move, you can get on anybody.
I'm running. 4-0. Press it, man.
Tough night for Harrison. Still just 1 out of the inning. Wallace is the batter.
We heard you, John.
You need to talk lower.
Wallace is a guy they put in the 2 spot in part with the speed of Altuve. They think Wallace is going to see more fastballs hitting in this spot, and that'll help him out. A guy who was thought to be a big power hitter when he came up, but really has been more of a line drive gap-to-gap hitter, but they feel they've tinkered with his swing. There's Derek Lowe now up in the Texas pen.
We watched for some action right here, Dan. Left on left, they might go hit and run.
If I'm Brett Wallace right here, I'm starting my swing early. I'm going to try to get out in front and hook one in that hole. He's throwing that 2-seamer in, trying to jam him and get the ground ball to first.
And you know he's probably not going to want to trick him right here and get to 3-0, so you're probably going to get something hard.
2-1.
You'd have hit that one in the seats, huh, John?
Well, no, I wouldn't. No, I might have swung and missed it too, but I would have been out in front of it. 2-0. Why are you letting it get deep?
Runner not going. Swung on and missed. 2-2.
I think a lot of guys now, younger players especially, they have that ingrained in their head that they can hit any pitch. And I still say, if he's throwing 92, 93 running in on you, you got to cheat on it inside and try to get out in front, especially when you're ahead in the count. Now the count's even. Now you battle. You don't battle 2-0.
And a big out for Harrison. Strikeout number 8. Now Chris Carter, who has struck out looking twice tonight.
wonder if Altuve will go now. Now that the hole's not open for the lefty anymore.
Harrison tough to run on, allowed just 1 steal in 4 attempts all of last season.
He's not real deceptive, but he's very quick. He doesn't pick up his front leg very high. He doesn't have a real big load once he has his first move.
Like Tom Glavine was. Just catch it, lift your leg a little bit and go.
Popped up. Kinsler. And the inning is over. But 2 more for the Astros and a 4-0 lead at the end of 5.
And I don't know who's on third. That's what I want to find out, the guy's name.
The guy that's on first. Who?
Who's on first? What are you asking me for? I don't know.
What's the guy's name in first?
No. What is at second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second base.
I know. Who's on first base?
What's on first? What's on second? I don't know. Third base.
Who is on first?
Who? So who's on first?
Yeah.
My boy who?
Who's your boy who?
Just thought I'd ask. Just thought I'd tell you.
I pick the ball up and I throw the ball to who?
Exactly. That's the first thing you've said right all day.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure any of them should be giving up their full-time job, but I mean, great job. I mean, by Dempster and Saltalamacchia there, we saw Rollins and Howard. That's great. Good for those guys to play along and show us the lighter side of their personalities too. Opening day here in Houston. Astros 4, Rangers nothing. Top 6. And top of the order for the Rangers, Kinsler, Andrews, Berkman against Bud Norris. Kinsler, a couple of flyouts tonight. Norris has given up just 2 hits through 5 shutout innings. Well, that fastball, Kruggy, can ride up and in on a right-handed batter pretty good sometimes, too.
Yeah, that's a scary thing. When he obviously didn't pick it up well, or else he wouldn't have check swung. But that's where guys get hit in the noggin.
The feeling here in Houston that the next Astro who could be traded is that guy right there, Bud Norris.
He keeps pitching like this, he's going to bring back something good for him too.
Well, he's thrown the ball pretty well tonight, and he's done a good job throwing the slider for a strike and then using it to get people out. And he's located the fastball when he's needed to late in the count to get some out pitches. Slowed him down with the breaking ball and beat him with the fastball with some spots.
Missed away with a slider, 3-1.
When you see as many guys check swinging on his slider, we talked about it earlier. That's when it's they're not picking it up well and it's breaking late.
Ball 4.
Yeah, that's something that haunted him last year. His bad games, the walks and the long balls.
MLB.TV celebrating 11 years. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on your favorite supported mobile and connected devices with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV for details. With John Kruk, Oral Hershiser, Buster Olney, I'm Dan Schulman. Opening night baseball here on ESPN. A good night so far for Norris. Getting the opening night start over Lucas Harrell, who went 11-11 last year. The reasoning being they mapped out their schedule all the way to the All-Star break, and by starting tonight as opposed to tomorrow, the Astros say Norris would get 3 extra starts at home in the first half. And they wanted to have Norris pitch as much at home as possible because of his great home numbers last year. And we got a chance to visit with Lucas Harrell yesterday after the Astros came in from their workout, and well, he's a young man who loves to talk about pitching and loves to try to learn about pitching. He was with you, Oral, and Steve Sparks, former Major League pitcher, who's one of the Astros radio broadcasters. And this is an earnest, enthusiastic young man that you guys talked to yesterday.
Yeah, we got a chance to talk to Bud Norris on the mound and Lucas, and I'll tell you what, both of them are interested in getting better and interested in learning more about pitching. Lucas Harrell is a very precocious and energetic young man. He could break down at bats and remember at bats against certain hitters and what adjustment he's going to make this year and how he's going to attack certain guys and changing grips on a slider or a curveball. And he wants to learn everything he can.
Andrews, the batter, 0 for 2.
Apparently he's a smart kid too. If he went to you for pitching advice, I mean, you were a great pitcher. You don't go to that guy with a 6 ERA and ask him how to break down a hitter. Obviously he don't know. I never went and talked to a guy hitting 200.
There's Lucas right there. He was 11-11 with a 3.7 ERA with a team that lost 107 games. Could have been a 20-game winner on the Yankees.
Formerly of the White Sox.
Put him on the Angels with their great offense. Give him a bullpen behind him, and that 11-11 is going to be a lot better than that. He's eating some innings up. He's striking people out. He's got to get his walks down a little bit, but as he continues to learn, he will.
And he talked about how when he's not playing, how into the game he is, how he can learn from anybody, any opposing player, pick up tendencies from anybody on his team or other teams. And you can see he's not the kind of guy who's going to goof around in the dugout. He's going to watch a game.
Yeah, his head's not in the stands, and he's not working on sunflower seeds and not paying attention. He's right in there.
So we can consider him close to being a real player.
Kinsler running and fouled off by Andrews as Ron Washington had a hit and run on.
This is an interesting inning for the Houston Astros and Bud Norris and even Bo Porter and Doug Brocail, the pitching coach, because this is the third time around in the order. And the Astros keep a lot of statistics and watch trends, and they are very sensitive to the third time around in an order when a pitcher, a starting pitcher especially, they're Doug Brocail, their pitching coach. But they're sensitive, they're sabermetricians, and a lot of their front office people are very sensitive to a starting pitcher seeing the lineup a third time.
Swung on and missed by Andrews. Fifth strikeout for Norris. And activity now in the Houston pen. Another one of the veterans they've brought in, left-hander Eric Bedard, is up for the Astros, and he is going to work as a starter, but in the fifth starter spot. They got an off day early. They don't need him to start for a while, so he is up under the watchful eye of Dennis Martinez out of the Astro bullpen.
El Presidente.
El Perfecto.
El Perfecto.
El Nasty.
El Perfecto against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
That's right.
In Dodger Stadium.
He was one of the two guys that you could close your eyes and pretty much tell every pitch he was throwing just by the sound. His curveball made like a chainsaw sound, a buzzing sound like no one's did. A tight spin and the wind hitting the.
You could hear it?
Lace. Yes, absolutely you could hear it.
Wow.
Could you hit it with your eyes open?
Nope.
He did an interesting thing, too, when he stepped back from the windup. If he was going inside, he'd slide his foot one way. If he was going outside, he'd slide it the other way on the rubber. And you could actually watch it, but nobody ever picked it up. He threw a lot of dirt on the rubber, so you didn't know where he was going.
245 career wins for Dennis Martinez. Lance Berkman lines the ball to right field. That's a base hit. Kinsler around second and on his way to third. The Rangers with runners on the corners and one out here in the sixth.
That's a great read by Kinsler with one out. I mean, he was off at the crack of the bat. He knew exactly where the right fielder was playing, and he didn't hesitate to get to third base. And when we talked to Ron Washington before the game, he told us that Kinsler's probably the best instinctive base runner they have. Not the fastest, but the most instinctive, and that's just part of those instincts right there.
And here comes the pitching coach, Doug Brocail. The guy you coached, Earl.
In Texas, and this is one of the great personalities in the game also that really is a baseball guy through and through. And talk about get out there and charge somebody up. When you go to the mound to visit Doug Brocail when he was an active pitcher, boy, he charged me up just coming out to the mound to talk to him, even if he's in a jam.
Great competitor.
He sure was. You could bring him out of the bullpen where he hadn't pitched in 6-7 days and start him, and he'd go 95, 110 pitches for you, even though his top end was 15, 16 pitches 7 days ago. Whatever it took for a win, and he will teach that mentality to these young Houston pitchers.
He better not hang a slider here. It's 4-3.
Adrian Beltre, the batter. First and third, one out in the sixth. 4-0 Houston.
He just missed the one the last at bat. Got it up a little too high. If it's down a little lower, he'd square that one up a little better.
And you'll see him drop to his back knee.
That's amazing how that happened.
Line back to the mound, and everybody back safely.
Well, John, you got it right. He hung it, and Adrian hit it hard. He just didn't lift it. He happened to hit it straight back up the middle like they were in a batting cage. He took it right back at the machine. That was a bullet that Adrian hit.
Well, your natural instinct is to go to the third base, but the third baseman, the guy in third is really not going anywhere. The guy in first is the one that's, if he thinks that ball might hit the ground if it goes past him, he has to try to get there and beat the force play at second. If he'd have looked at first, he might have had Berkman.
Good play just to stab it, though, by Norris for the second out. First and third, two down, and here's Murphy, who's walked and flied out. Norris up over 90 pitches. Trying to get out of this jam here in the sixth inning.
And here's the same thing. He's got to watch hanging a slider right here to a left-handed hitter, not let that thing get lazy on the inner half. Let Murphy drop some head on it. He wants to stay hard away from him.
I just like the fact that they have a lefty up in the bullpen in Bedard, whether they're bringing him in or not, and a left-handed hitter in Murphy, and he's sticking with Norris. I like Bo Porter sending the message. I have the faith that you can get out of this.
Well, you got to believe he's going to get Murphy, and he's also going to get Cruz on deck, being right-handed. And that could be his last hitter, possibly. They might get a righty ready right now. Seeing Brocail go to the phone, probably see some action down there.
Outside, ball two.
If they want the right-hander ready, you're going to get a visit right here from Castro because they're going to have to stall. It's a little late on the trigger for the bullpen unless he can really warm up quick.
Right-hander Reiner Cruz now starting to throw.
They're getting a call saying to Dennis Martinez right now, get him back on the rubber. Get it going.
Base hit right field. Kinsler will score. Berkman stops at second, and the Rangers are on the board now, trailing 4-1.
In some ways, the bullpen should have been active from the right side. As soon as Beltre hit the line drive back at Norris and they got an out, yeah, they were fortunate to get an out. But now that right-hander down there in the bullpen is probably not ready for Cruz, and they're going to have to stall if they want to get Norris out of this game.
Well, this is a veteran hitter in David Murphy. You've got the big hole between first and second with the runner on first. Watch his top hand, how it rolls over top of this ball. Deadly trying. Look at that top hand roll over. He's trying to pull that ball. Even though it's away, he still can get the barrel out. And once he makes contact, he rolls that hand over and shoots it through that hole to get that easy base hit. That's beautiful.
And now all of a sudden the tying run is at the plate. Nelson Cruz has walked and flied out. Started him with a slider.
Here's where, when you're the pitcher and you see him swing and miss at that slider, you can't try to throw a better one, because if you try to throw a better one, that's when you hang it and overthrow it. You've got to just throw one more good one. You try to throw it harder and better, sometimes it slips out the top half of your hand and you just leave it there spinning in the middle like it's sitting on a tee for the hitter.
Another slider and a called strike over the outside corner.
Yeah, look a little wide out there. Let's see what K-Zone thinks about it. That ball starts as a ball and ends up a ball. But Norris caught a break on the mound.
Base hit into left center. Berkman getting the wave and will score. Murphy stops at second, and it's 4-2.
That's exactly what you're talking about. Well, it looked like he tried to throw the best slider of his career, and he hung it.
It's real hard to throw an extra good one when you're hit a little bit of a wall fatigue-wise. And now we're finally going to get the lefty.
So Norris goes 5 2/3, leaves with the lead, and the left-handed Bedard on his way in. Presented by Burger King is brought to you by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And AT&T, rethink possible. Back at Minute Maid Park here in Houston, the Astros have gone to the bullpen, trying to preserve this 2-run lead here in the 6th. 34-year-old left-hander Eric Bedard, who spent last year with the Pirates, went 7-14 with an ERA of 5.01. Best years were with the Orioles back in 06 and 07, won 15 and 06, won 13 in 07. He is a starter. He is going to be in the rotation, but out of the number 5 spot for the Astros. And Bo Porter will go to him out of the bullpen here to face left-hand hitting A.J. Pierzynski with the tying run now at first and the go-ahead run at the plate with 2 down in the 6th.
Well, if I'm A.J., just watching Bedard warm up, every pitch, his fastball and his breaking ball were away to left-handed hitters. I'm thinking right now, if he can't command the inside, I'm looking away and trying to slap something to left.
Nearly squirts through Castro, ball 1.
He can run it up there 88 to 93. He does have that slurvy kind of curve ball.
And you saw right there the first pitch where he spiked the fastball down and away.
It's a little different when you're in spring training to be a starter, and all of a sudden your first outing is in a key situation as a reliever.
Skies one to center field. Inning over. 2 runs for the Rangers. Still a 4-2 lead for the Astros. Astros GM Jeff Luhnow with a buster on the other side. Four to 2 as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Let's send it down to Buster Olney with the GM of the Astros, Jeff Luhnow.
Jeff, I've heard from some of your peers, general managers with other teams, that the Astros probably are the purest form of implementation of statistical data. Tell me in a nutshell what your philosophy is.
Well, it's pretty simple. We're trying to develop the best young talent in baseball and get the Astros back to where they used to be. They had a stretch there of 6 postseasons in 9 years, and that's what we want to get. We want to win a couple championships, and we know to do that we've got to develop our own players. So how we get our own players, we use a combination of good old-fashioned scouting and whatever information is available to us. And yes, some of that is today's modern statistics.
Now, one of the interesting things you announced the other day, you're going with a tandem system in the minor leagues. Explain that.
Well, one of our goals during the offseason was to build up our pitching depth at AAA so that we had a lot of starters. We made a lot of trades last year. About 12 of the players that came back were starting pitchers at the AA and AAA level, A-ball level. And so we ended up having an abundance of pitchers at all the full season clubs and realized that rather than make a decision about who the 5 starters should be after 1 month of spring training, let's put 8 of them in the rotation in groups of 2 and let the best ones emerge over time. And I think that's really the philosophy, and hopefully it'll work out.
As it moves along, how are you going to evolve those pitchers to the point where they're throwing 100 pitches in a major league game?
Well, the ones that are performing are actually going to have roughly the same innings as they would in a 5-man rotation. But over time, we actually expect to go back to a 5-man rotation. So later in the season, you want those guys to get some experience going through the lineup for the third time. That always seems to be a challenge for a lot of these young pitchers, and we want to give them that experience. But, for right now, I think for the months of April and May, we're going to go with the tandem system and see how it works.
Since the publishing of the book Moneyball, there's been some resistance in the old school to the implementation of statistics. When you run into that with people that you work with, how do you deal with that?
I think it's a conversation because ultimately we all have the same objective. We want to find the best players and put the best players on the field. And, if you have evidence that a player has performed well in the past, that's usually a good indication he's going to perform well in the future. And, you got to rely on your scouts, no question about it. But I think most clubs are using all the information they have available to them to make the best decisions, and that's all we're doing. And I think once you have the conversation, frankly, about it, everybody gets on the same page.
Now, during this offseason, you didn't spend a lot of money on veteran free agents. A lot of teams in your position, sort of standard operating procedure to hire some journeyman veterans to usher along some of the younger players. Tell me what went into your decision to not go as extensively with that.
Well, actually, we did. I mean, between Carlos Pena and Eric Bedard and some of the other players that we brought in, Rick Ankiel, these are players with a lot of major league experience, and we chose them not only for what they could do on the field, but also how we felt they would mentor our young players. And, when you sign free agents, you've got to play them. And frankly, we wanted to see what Matt Dominguez could do. We wanted to give Jason Castro a chance to play every day, Justin Maxwell a chance to play center field every day. And I think that's really the best strategy for us to get to the point where, we figure out what we have. We know we got exciting players coming. We saw them yesterday here. A lot of the future is not that far away. And, to sign a multi-year contract to a free agent right now and block these players from coming up just doesn't make sense with where we're going.
Tell me about some of the best young players you're talking about.
Well, it starts with Carlos Correa, our first-round pick from last year. He's just really an advanced young man, and he's got a chance to be in the big leagues, before he's 21 years old and be a regular, everyday star type of player. Jonathan Singleton, Mike Foltynewicz was up here yesterday throwing in the high 90s. I mean, the list goes on. We have a very deep system right now, and I think it's going to provide players for us for a long time. And that's really when we want to get to the point where we constantly have good players coming up and getting ready to play in the big leagues.
Jeff, thanks. Dan, back to you.
All right, Buster, thank you. Buster with Jeff Luhnow, the general manager of the Astros, as Carlos Pena strikes out. That's 9 now for Matt Harrison. There's Justin Maxwell, had a 2-run triple in the 4th inning, driving in the first 2 runs of the big league season. And for clarity's sake, we should just talk about the tandem pitching system a little bit more so people understand. So what Jeff Luhnow is saying is they brought back a lot of young pitchers in all the trades when they traded away some of their veterans last year. And instead of choosing 5 based on spring training, they're going to designate 8 pitchers on every minor league team as starters. And they will pitch in tandem. So let's say you two are starting pitchers. So on your day, Kruk will pitch the first 75 pitches, and then Oro, you'll pitch the next 60. And 4 days later, Oro, you'll start and go 75, and Kruk will go 60. And there will be 3 other pairs of pitchers. And then what Mr. Luhnow is saying is after a couple of months, they feel it'll weed itself out. The best 5 will establish themselves, and then they'll go to a more conventional 5-man rotation and allow their pitchers to go deeper into games. This is very unconventional.
Well, it's the first time it's ever been done at the AA and AAA level that I know of. And there's 2 main points of the philosophy, which is to kind of protect young arms, but also give more young arms a chance to be starters to see if they weed themselves out. Instead of only looking at 5 guys that get chances to start, you do get 3 more guys that you'll get to look at. And sometimes guys develop in different patterns or late, and they're gonna have a chance to see 8 guys at every level. But the hard part for me is the guys sitting in AAA that are probably going to be their call-ups to the big leagues. Will those guys be ready to step in and go 100, 110 pitches? And will they be able to pitch through that barrier of fatigue that hit Bud Norris in that last inning, where that 3rd time around the order and you get past 80 pitches, 90 pitches? Can you pitch out of your own jams and give that bullpen a rest?
Mike Maddox, the pitching coach, to the mound for the Rangers. You can see the night for Matt Harrison on the wrong end of a 4-2 score right now. And the basis of this, from what we understand, is, again, they've got a lot of candidates and they want to choose the best guys. They think they can keep their pitchers healthier by not extending them too much in the minors. And there is some statistical evidence, they say, Crucky, that supports that pitchers don't do as well the 3rd time through the order. But again, they're not saying they're going to do this in the majors, that this is a stepping stone stage, if you will, for them to choose who the best starters are and eventually have them going deeper into games.
Well, and I kind of agree with that, the way this whole thing is set up, because a lot of times you label a guy in Double-A, he's a starting pitcher. Triple-A, he's a starter. Well, that's what he is. He's a starter. I think with this piggybacking type of theory is, now you can find a guy, okay, he can, how did he do starting? Well, he struggled a little bit. How did he do when he followed the starter up? Well, he did really well. Now you have a guy that you can possibly bring up to the big leagues and say, okay, he can get ready quick. He's better out of the bullpen. He doesn't have to think about it. And he's better that way. So, a lot of times guys come up to the big leagues as a starting pitcher all through the minor leagues, and they have to throw him out in the bullpen to be a long guy. Maybe now they'll be more prepared.
You pitchers, though, Arl, as you will freely admit to, you're creatures of habit, and this is something different.
But it is something different. And when I first heard about it at first blush and didn't read and talk to about the whole theory, I did disagree with it. Now that I've heard it, I'm starting to agree with it more, but maybe not at the AAA level. But you know what? Their AAA club isn't the perfect AAA club right now, where they're trying to feed the big league club and get guys ready as much as they're trying to weed through and still find out about people.
There's Doug Brocail, the pitching coach, so he may be given a player who gets called up in a month or 2 or 3, a starting pitcher who may never have gone to more than 75 pitches. And then it takes, 4 or 5 starts until a guy can get up to 100?
Well, what we're being told, though, that will only happen in the first 2 months, April and May. And then after May, they will go down at AA and AAA. Maybe not an A ball or below. They'll go down to 5 starters and start pushing the pitch counts a little deeper.
Here's Matt Dominguez 0 for 2. The Astros up 4-2 in the bottom of the 6th here on opening night.
It's just interesting to watch the game develop and watch people's different theories and see new statistics or new ways to look at the same numbers. And we're seeing the defensive metrics come in. We're seeing BABIP, balls in play. What is the batting average against the pitcher? And I think some of it has some merit, a lot of merit, and then other parts of it we still need to rely on the scouts and the eye test and the smell test of a guy's character. And do you project him as somebody that can learn and pay attention and get better?
Jeff Luhnow coming from the Cardinals organization, where he was the scouting director for a number of years. Pitch in the dirt, ball 3, and the Cardinals have had some great drafts in recent years. They have some terrific young players who are coming through the system and now arriving at the major league level. Harrison approaching 100 pitches, and a couple of relievers up in the pen. Right-hander Derek Lowe is up again, and there's left-hander Robbie Ross, one of the real pleasant surprises for the Rangers last year. Won a job in spring training, had a terrific year last year for the Rangers. Came to camp this year fighting maybe for the 5th starter spot, but has wound up back in the bullpen where he was last year. There's ball 4, and is that going to be the end of the line for Harrison? It sure is. Harrison an even 100 pitches. He will leave on the wrong end of a 4-2 score here on opening night as Ron Washington's made the call to the pen.
journey of 162 games begins with a single step. Opening day on ESPN.
A quadruple header on ESPN and ESPN2 tomorrow. Opening day. This is opening night. The first game of the Major League season here in 2013 from Minute Maid Park in Houston. And the Astros with a 4-2 lead. Bottom of the sixth. 2 on, 2 out as Ron Washington goes to his bullpen and brings in veteran right-hander Derek Lowe, who has pitched for a lot of teams in a lot of different roles over the course of his career. Last year split the season between the Indians and the Yankees. He'll work as a long man out of the pen for Texas.
He's going to try and keep the ball down, throw his sinker. He's got a little backdoor slider he'll throw to Rick Ankiel, a left-handed hitter. Right here just looking to get his first out of this season. Keep the Rangers in this game.
Ankiel coming on as a pinch hitter for Brandon Barnes. By all accounts, Ankiel had a terrific spring. Guy who was with both Porter and Washington. And judging from the opening night lineup, looks like Crucky, at least at the outset, he's going to be a platoon player in right field. He'll bat against righties, but not against lefties.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. You keep both players fresh. It makes your bench stronger because both guys are getting at bats. Yeah, I love the platoon situation.
Little high, ball 2.
When they said in spring training, Rick worked really hard on hit the ball the opposite way, not quite as pull conscious, and he's starting to drive the ball to left field more. And the configuration here at home will be good for him with that short left field porch. And only 362 to the gap, so he'll be rewarded for some of those hard fly balls to left center.
Yeah, in the book on Rick Ankiel, he's basically a pull hitter. Oral, you mentioned he's working the other way, and especially against a guy like Derek Lowe. You look at Martin, he's shading him to pull, but if the sinker baller is going to try to keep the ball away, and Derek Lowe keeps missing in, but you know, normally he's going to keep it away, and that's where Rick Ankiel's shooting his sights into left center field. He's changed his approach too. He's lowered his hands a little bit. He's a little more slow with his hands.
And Derek Lowe has changed his approach, because normally 7 out of 8 pitches from Derek Lowe in his prime would be sinkers away to lefties, let him hit the top of it, and Derek knows that his is not a turbo sinker anymore, so he's really mixing up his pitches. He's gone fastball up and in, he's worked that slider in under his hands, and he's only gone once away with the fastball.
Runners will be on the move. Full count, 2 down. And Ankiel lifts a towering fly ball to right field. And gone! Not a bad way to start your season if you're Rick Ankiel.
Well, the one thing is, as a left-handed hitter, and John, you know this better than anybody, when you start working the ball to left field, it keeps you on the breaking ball when they hang it. And so instead of pulling it foul or popping it up, this little breaking ball right here stays in the middle at 82 miles an hour. And Rick Ankiel with the lower hands is able to stay on it, not jump at it, and square it up and hit an awful long way. Even though it went to right, it was a left field approach that got that home run for him.
Well, and when a guy's throwing 88 and his breaking ball's 82, there's not that big of a difference in it, so you can tell yourself, I'm going to shoot this thing to left. He throws me anything slow, I can still pull it. And like you said, well, keep it fair. That's the big thing.
Now, how about the Astros up 7-2 on the Rangers here in the bottom of the sixth? Rick Ankiel's first at bat with Houston is a pinch hit 3-run homer. And 2 to count on Ronnie Cedeno.
He's leading the league in hitting and RBIs so far, and home runs.
He's your Triple Crown leader right now.
He really is.
His 5th career pinch hit home run.
The Astros could be a half a game in first place after this game.
2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 3 more here in the 6th. Lowe gets Cedeno, but he's unhappy with himself after surrendering that 3-run homer to Rick Ankiel. End of 6, opening night, Houston. Home team up 7-2. Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Burger King. For the 7th in Houston. The man of the moment, Rick Ankiel, who hit the 3-run pinch hit homer for the Astros to extend the lead to 7-2, stays in the game in right field. Eric Bedard back on the mound. Mitch Moreland, the batter, and he takes outside, ball 1.
Well, we talked about the veterans that they brought in. They're kind of Bo Porter, hand-picked guys. Well, when you're going to further the manager's message to young players, it always helps when you contribute and you put up numbers also. It's a lot more weight to your words than if you're sitting on the bench hitting 180 and not contributing, but you're the veteran that's given the message. And Bedard on the mound was brought in for that, and he can have a good outing tonight, maybe, and fill a role. Pena, who's brought in, also has a base hit tonight, and now Rick Ankiel comes off the bench and gives him a lot of breathing room.
And this is where an unbalanced lineup with the Rangers right now is they're getting easy to manage against, because A.J. Przinsky, Mitch Moreland, and Martin probably going to pinch hit for Martin, maybe with Gentry, but Bedard's going to get 2 lefties, and then if they pinch hit, you can always bring in they pinch hit Gentry, you can bring in a right-hand reliever to face Gentry. So everything sets up in your favor when you stack your lineup with 3 consecutive lefties.
Picked it short by Cedeno, and on to first for out number 1.
It was a nice little play by Cedeno. Even better positioning by the defense of the Astros. Had him right up the middle right there in the right spot. Cedeno brought in late in spring training after being released by the Cardinals just to come in as a glove man. Really weren't counting on his bat. He fielded that one very cleanly and was in the right spot.
Martin will stay. Lefty against lefty.
There's no one warming up in the bullpen, and I know they want to give the kid a chance to prove himself, but he hit 359 last year in AAA, so he had to get some hits off lefties.
Comes up empty on the breaking ball, quickly 0-2.
Well, we asked Ron Washington about a scouting report on his offense. He really felt like that early in the season he'd be kind of in survival mode and really learning how to hit up here at the big league level, that they really made the team for his glove. And they like the fact that he's always had potential and ability, but now it's starting to come together. But this is a big challenge for survival mode.
To swing that big, I know he's excited. It's opening day, and he's in the big leagues. If he doesn't tone down that swing a little bit with the head jerking and pulling off, he's gonna struggle. Especially with 2 strikes. This is, put it in play and try to punch it the other way swings.
Interesting pitch selection for a guy who's bailing, coming fastball in.
In and out of the glove. The tag now applied by Castro, and Martin strikes out, 2 down.
You saw it again right there. Just the overswing, and on a 0-2 pitch, fastball up and away, and you swing at it like you're trying to hit it up in the Crawford boxes. Watch the swing, how it just goes. Everything goes. Watch his head jerk off this pitch, and when you're pulling off your head and you're losing sight of the ball, look at how hard he swung right there. That's, I'm trying to hit this out of the ballpark 0-2 when we're down 5.
Shorten up and use your legs. Put the ball in play.
Back to the top of the order for Kinsler, 0-2 with a walk.
And again, he's young. It could be opening day jitters and overexcitement, overswinging, trying to, I want to try to go deep and impress everyone, see how far I can hit it. I get that whole thing. I remember my first big league at bat. I faced Bob Welch. I was trying to, and this is one of the reasons I don't like Dodger Stadium, because they had so many great pitchers. So people in L.A. who think that, I don't like Dodger Stadium because of whatever, it's because they had such good pitching. But I was trying to go deep.
Bedard gets him in order. Still 7-2 Astros. 7th inning stretch here in Houston on opening night. We'll be keeping it here. Lyle Lovett, who sung the national anthem before the game, is still here, and will sing God Bless America here on opening night.
ladies and gentlemen, we kindly ask that you please rise and remove your caps as we honor our great nation by welcoming back Lyle Lovett as he leads us in God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lyle Lovett.
I'm Elvis Andrew. This is my position. I think having a tattoo, it has to be for a meaning. I really want to get a tattoo in love and memory of my dad. He passed away in 1996. It was a lung cancer. They tell me he got all the tools to not just being a professional, to probably, to make the whole, big leagues and everything. There's not too many people who actually throw away their dreams. Instead, he just, choose to go to college and help our family. And that's the reason that I'm here. People ask me what I write in the field before every game, and that's his name.
And Elvis losing his father when he was just 7 years of age, and you can see writes his father's name in the dirt at the beginning of every game in which he plays. This is at the beginning of the night. Thinking of his dad every time he takes a major league field. We go to the bottom of the seventh here in Houston on opening night, and the Astros have a 7-2 lead on the Texas Rangers. A newcomer to Texas, right-hander Jason Frazier is into the game. Frazier's been in the big leagues 9 years, and all but 2 months of that with the Blue Jays. Spent the last couple of months of 2011 with the White Sox. He's made over 500 big league appearances. Top of the order, Jose Altuve. Ground ball at Andrews, 1 down. The Texas bullpen, a much different situation to guys than last year. Last year you had Mike Adams, you had Koji Uehara, and now Frazier is a newcomer. And Ron Washington said it was before the game that other than Joe Nathan, who's closing, the rest of the roles are going to be determined by the players themselves over the coming weeks. They haven't established the roles. This is still an open competition, and whoever pitches the best is going to get the biggest opportunity.
They've got some young fireballers down there with Kirkman and Sheppers. Got Joe Ortiz down there, but Frazier was brought in to pitch near the end of the game. They're not quite sure if it's going to be the 8th inning, but he's definitely not going to be a long man.
Brett Wallace, the batter, 1 for 3. The Rangers have 4 pitchers who will begin the year on the disabled list. Martin Perez, who might have been their 5th starter, but he was hit by a line drive in early March. He's got a fractured forearm. They hope to get him back at some point in May. Colby Lewis, elbow surgery. They hope to get him back maybe by the 1st of June. Joaquin Soria, ex of Kansas City, coming off elbow surgery as well. They hope to get him back maybe by the 1st of June. And then Neftali Feliz, who also had elbow surgery, and they might get him back in August. So you can see, I mean, they're going to be waiting for a while. Those are some pretty good arms right there that could really bolster the staff if those guys get healthy at some point during the season.
Yeah, those are all bona fide big league pitchers that really could help them in a big way. And pitching coach Mike Maddox, who we had on camera there for a while, is going to have his hands full in manipulating through that roster with John Daniels and Ron Washington as those guys get healthy. But those are going to be welcome cavalry for these guys as they shake through their bullpen here early in the season.
Quickly, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th, and Frazier will face Chris Carter, 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Matt Harrison gives up 6 earned runs through 5 2/3. Actually, one of the runs unearned. 6 runs, 5 of them earned through 5 2/3. So he's on the hook for the loss right now. Bud Norris gives up 2 runs, both earned through 5 2/3, and in line for the win if things keep on rolling for the Astros.
We talked early on, Dan, about this Houston Astros team being a team that's probably going to swing and miss a lot, but they're going to hit a lot of long fly balls, a lot of home runs. Some of these young guys, this guy at the plate, Chris Carter, Carlos Payne, he's got some pop. Justin Maxwell hit near the top of the wall here for that triple. Matt Dominguez got some power. Brett Wallace's power is coming on. The thing about these young hitters, though, that they got some pop, but they're going to have to learn to make contact consistently and get their averages up. And not only be able to hit the big fly, but have some consistent, solid big league at bats.
Down to third. Gobbled up by Beltre, and the inning is over. Astros go in order. We're going to the top of the 8th at Houston. Elvis Andrus will lead it off for the Rangers. We're down 7-2 here on opening night. ESPN, presented by Burger King, where taste is king. Rick Ankiel with a 3-run homer in his first at-bat of the season. It's a 7-2 lead for the Astros going to the 8th inning. Eric Bedard still on the mound. Elvis Andrus, Lance Berkman, and Adrian Beltre due up for the Rangers. Backhanded at third by Dominguez, and a long throw across the diamond, a big stretch by Wallace, and they get him.
That's a big league play right down there at third base by Matt Dominguez. The young man does a good job having a baseball clock going to his left and making a clean catch on the ball and then squaring his feet up, getting the momentum going the wrong way, but picks up first base in a hurry and gets it going over in the area. Happened to get it in the air, even if he got it over there in one bounce. He had it on the right angle with a quick release.
Maybe that's why he plays off the line. He goes to his right well. That was a great play.
It was.
Here's Lance Berkman. 2 for 3, a couple of base hits, scored a run back in the 6th. And a strike for Bedard, who came on to get the last out of the 6th inning. Got the Rangers in order in the 7th, and we set down all 5 batters that he's faced in this game, and all is quiet in the Houston pen right now. $41,307, a sellout here on opening night in Houston. And so far, so good if you're a fan of the home team. A little bit inside. This is a 3-game series. They won't play tomorrow, but the two teams will meet again here Tuesday night. And then again on Wednesday night. We'll have the Rangers again for you 1 week from tonight on Sunday Night Baseball as they host the Los Angeles Angels. And we're thinking maybe Jared Weaver and Yu Darvish. Two and two, the count on Berkman. Big breaking ball winds up down and in, full count.
7-2, 8th inning, 3-2, or you're just pumping a fastball down and away, and if he hits it out the other way, right?
Exactly. I'm not going to set an inning up. I'm going to make you hit your way on.
Did he go? Yes, he did. Couldn't check the swing on that curveball. 2 down.
Game's changed, John. Going to fake him out with the curveball.
Yeah, but Lance Berkman's a veteran, and he was looking same thing as I would have been looking for, the heater.
Look at how the Rangers have done tonight. Just 2 runs. They've been driven in by David Murphy and Nelson Cruz. 2 runs on 5 hits for the Texas Rangers. Last year, the highest scoring team in baseball. Some changes. Obviously, Josh Hamilton, Michael Young, Mike Napoli no longer here. They've brought in A.J. Brzezinski, Lance Berkman. But haven't done a whole lot with the bats here tonight. Beltre pops it up. And it's another 3-up, 3-down inning for Eric Bedard. To the bottom of the 8th on opening night. And the Astros have a 7-2 lead on the Rangers.
To go.
The nachos to go.
They travel everywhere.
Bottom 8, Minute Maid Park. Sunday Night Baseball. Dan Schulman, John Kruk, Oral Hershiser, Buster Olney, and a Major League debut for left-hander Joe Ortiz. Just pitched so well in the spring, pitched his way right onto the staff. Referred to by Ron Washington as this year's Robbie Ross, a guy who kind of came out of nowhere and forced his way onto the team. Carlos Pena leads it off for the Astros. A base hit and a couple of strikeouts. Ortiz, just 5'7", 22 years of age, from Venezuela. First major league appearance. And Ron Washington tells us he pounds the strike zone. They knew he was getting all kinds of outs in the minors. They wanted to see what happened in spring training games at a big league camp. They saw him pound the strike zone, and as Wash said, they saw him get his ears pinned back, as he said, saw him get in a little trouble, and saw the way, Oral, that he handled the adversity. And that's when they really knew that maybe they had something, because he got himself in trouble, and then he pitched his way out of it and came out better for it.
He didn't lose his aggressive spirit and his ability to get the ball back in the zone and start pitching scared. He's continued to pitch aggressive, and they love that about him. These opportunities exist when you have guys on the DL that are going to be back soon, and you don't want to clog your roster. So there is an opportunity on the Rangers for some young guys to make an impact and win a job, and then get a month and a half tryout while they're waiting for Story to come back, while they're waiting for Feliz to get back, while they're waiting for Colby Lewis to get back.
Right down the middle with a fastball for out number 1. Let's go down to Buster Olney.
Guys, the Rangers chief executive officer Nolan Ryan has been with the team the last couple of days, but he told reporters nothing has been settled about his standing with the team. This, of course, came up during spring training, hovered over the team after some titles within the organization changed. Ryan met with the Rangers ownership to talk about whether or not he still has a voice that he wants in the organization. I've talked to friends of his who think it's better than 50-50 that eventually he's going to leave the team.
A guy who has meant so much to baseball in this whole state, guys, to both of these teams, to both Houston and Texas. And, you know, you'd like to see a guy like Nolan Ryan obviously be able to go out on his own terms. I mean, some people say, well, nothing's really changed other than the title. There's a ball line down the right field line. That's a fair ball off the bat of Maxwell. He's on his way to second, and he's looking for his second triple of the night, and he's got it standing up.
The young man came into the season with a lot of expectations. His picture plastered all over town. He really kind of became the face of the Astros in this construction project they have here, and he hasn't disappointed tonight with a couple triples and running the ball out and doing a nice job in the outfield. Made a nice grab that was a trap early on, but got called a catch, but he put the effort in to get the call, and right here he does a good job staying inside that ball and driving it down the right field line.
And a guy who can do that, take a pitch middle in up and slice it down the right field line for a triple. One, you have to have speed, but two, he's going to be tough to defend, because if he gets out in front of that ball, he can pull it and hit a home run in the Crawford box, or what we just saw.
That swing right there reminded me of Derek Jeter, the way Derek fights that ball off and kind of pushes it out there, but still gets the barrel on it.
Handsy. Man, I love hands hitters. Derek's probably the best at it. You see Maxwell right there. His hands were actually way out in front of his chest when he hit the ball, but the thing is, his hands were out in front, but the barrel was still in the strike zone.
Those people are hard to get out, because that barrel's in the strike zone a long time when they're out in front of it or when they're behind it.
Infield in for the Rangers. Ground ball to second. Maxwell can't risk it. 2 down. So Castro can't bring him in. Looking for a little insurance here in the bottom of the 8th. Big night for Maxwell with 2 triples and a couple of RBIs, and the big pinch hit 3-run homer for Rick Ankiel back in the 6th inning that blew it open. It's been a good night for the Astros. Got a good performance from Bud Norris, Eric Bedard, terrific out of the pen. The offense has delivered. And Matt Dominguez comes up, takes a strike. Nobody up in the Astros pen. So Eric Bedard, the 5th starter, who came on in the 6th inning in relief because they don't need a spot for a while.
Kind of feels like the minor league tandem thing going on.
You're
here,
right.
You know, we got
You're
an
right.
A-ball, AA, AAA.
Yep.
We're going to do it at the big leagues. We're going to take 2 starters and split the game. I think Bud Norris had 97 pitches. Eric Bedard coming in for the next half of the game.
Kinsler can barehanded, and another run will score. Base hit, RBI, Matt Dominguez.
This is Bullet. You just try and protect yourself out there. You don't get mad you couldn't catch it. But right there, Kinsler did everything he could to try and save this run with 2 out. He just doesn't get it in his hand and the webbing of his fingers, and it's do or die play. You don't second guess him for going barehand there and try and save the run.
Rangers playing behind the runner as Ankiel fouls it off left side. (8-2) Astros, bottom of the 8th here on opening night. A quadruple header tomorrow on the ESPN family of networks. Yankees, Red Sox at 1 Eastern on ESPN. We'll have the Giants and the Dodgers for you at 4 Eastern on ESPN. 7 Eastern, the Phillies and Braves on ESPN2, and then 10 Eastern, the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks also on ESPN2. Inning over. A run in for the Astros, and we're going to the 9th on opening night. Bedard back to the mound with a 6-run lead. ESPN, among the stories that you'll see with Stuart Scott and Scott Van Pelt, Michigan and Louisville advance to the Final Four with wins today. No LeBron, no Dwayne Wade. No problem for the Heat today against San Antonio. In the Sunday conversation, Mariano Rivera talks about his final season as a big leaguer. Scott Van Pelt, Stuart Scott have it as soon as this game is over. Top of the 9th inning, and Eric Bedard is back out there, and he's looking for his first big league save. One of the requirements for a save is 3 innings of effective relief, and he's already gone 2 1/3.
He's been effective.
He's been effective, all right. 7 up and 7 down. He gets this done, and he'll pick up his first ever big league save. And he's leading by 6. David Murphy leads it off for Texas. Murphy a walk, a fly ball, and an RBI single.
quite a little boost in confidence for the Houston Astros coming out of spring training. They hit a lot of home runs. They said that, they were together. This isn't a construction project. We're going to go out every night and try and win. Their offense produces. Maxwell there in center made a good catch, hit a couple triples. Rick Ankiel comes off the bench, hits a 3-run home run. And the two pitchers that were supposed to do well are doing well. Bud Norris, who was hot here at home last year, and Bedard they brought in to kind of stabilize the rotation, but here doing a great job in relief.
Did Maxwell struggle this spring?
A little bit. They said
that just shows
his timing was off.
It shows you how important that is.
You're a big believer in good spring training, Tom.
No.
Up and in, 2-2.
It's a little different when you get in these triple-decker, quadruple-decker stadiums with the bright lights and the big crowds.
And we heard Ron Watson, we were talking to him. He said these guys were great in spring, but this is the regular season now. This isn't spring training anymore. He kept reiterating that fact every young pitcher and young player he talked about. And it is different, or
Oh yeah.
Spring training. It's different now than when I played. We used to get a couple thousand people. Now they're, 8,000-10,000 come to these spring training games. And the ballparks are so beautiful right now, in a lot of these spring training camps. And it is different. We knew it was an exhibition game. These games now with all these people, you feel like a regular season.
There's definitely a different adrenaline rush, different pitch selections that you see, all different kinds of stuff once you get to the regular season at these stadiums that are so beautiful. And if you pack them, you get to stand out there on that bumper in that batter's box. It's a special feeling.
Three-two. Maxwell back. Made the catch.
That one he caught.
What a night for Justin Maxwell.
We think he caught it. He could have trapped it back there against the fence, but it's tough with that corner there.
We lost him. Real. Nope, that's a catch.
You got it.
And tonight's Chevrolet player of the game, right on cue. Thank you, Justin. A couple of triples tonight, and that catch out in deep left center. A great night for Maxwell here on opening night.
They had another baseball tonight. They'd be dialing up some web gems with Maxwell and Dominguez.
And a trap gem.
Hey, if it's an out, it's a gem.
It's a CZ.
You ever have any web gems that were traps?
I never had a web gem.
No, I mean as a broadcaster, not as a player. I mean, in all the years you've been in studio, did you ever award one on even though it was a trap, if the umpire called it a catch?
Now you're asking me to recall something that happened in the past. A little late in the season for that, Dan.
I hear you.
We're all the way into the ninth inning of the first game.
The season isn't over.
Broken bat, base hit. Cruz, his second hit of the night. Do you play baseball or softball? Tell us what you play for by uploading a video to social media with hashtag #IPLAY, and your video may be featured on MLBFanCave.com. 1 on, 1 out. Rangers down by 6 here in the ninth inning. I invite you to join us again tomorrow. 4 games. John and Oral and Buster and I will be out in Los Angeles. The Giants and the Dodgers. Matt Cain and Clayton Kershaw, the pitching matchup. A.J. Pierzynski's 1 for 3.
It's 8 o'clock in L.A., John. We got a day game tomorrow. We got to get up. We got to get there. We're in Houston.
I think we'll make it there.
It's part of the gig.
And a good gig.
It's a great gig.
I guess I'll jump in and drink the company Kool-Aid too. It's a heck of a game.
Fly ball to left. 2 down. Settle in tomorrow beginning at 1 o'clock Eastern time. 4 games coming your way. The Astros an out away from a win on opening night. And this will be win number 1 for Bo Porter and win number 4,000 for the Houston Astros as a franchise. But they'll take 1-0. Mitch Moreland. Runner goes, and into second on defensive indifference.
First big league hit, first big league win, first big league at bat. And for a manager, I'm sure it's just as special getting that first day to manage and then first win. He's got to be really excited inside.
That scorecard will get signed by everyone and framed and put up in his office.
And he talked so much before this game about, for the city of Houston and the Houston Astros joining the American League, what a historic game this is and how important it is to him and the whole organization, the whole city. He's going to be a proud man tonight. And you know what? After meeting him the last couple days and sitting around and talking to him, that is a good man. He's a straight shooter. He wants the best for this organization, for these kids and the players around him. And it might be his first day on the job, but he's handled it very, very well.
Now to play 1-2. Bud Norris in line for the win. Bedard would get a save if he finishes this off, having gone 3 1/3. Rick Ankiel with a home run. Justin Maxwell, a couple of triples, a couple of RBIs. Moreland fights one off.
I think if Bedard got one good hook in his arsenal, this one's over.
Yeah. Well, there's a good little visit by Jason Castro, somebody they're glad to have back behind the plate. Guy came from out of Stanford, really smart. The pitchers are very comfortable with having him back behind the plate. And to go out there in this situation for a big win on opening day, visit a veteran pitcher, it's a good visit.
And a ground ball to second. And the Astros win it. Bo Porter gets a win in his first game as a big league manager. And Houston beats Texas 8-2. Sports Center is next here on ESPN. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Oral Hershiser, John Kruk, Buster Olney, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dan Shulman saying thanks for watching. Sports Center is next.